In the beginning there was light, then there was rebellion, then there was falling. And after eons of ruling hell, managing the damned and growing unspeakably bored with the predictable nature of human sin, Lucifer Morningstar decided he'd had quite enough of it all. He walked away from hell because he could, because free will, that magnificent gift his father had bestowed upon humanity, applied to him as well, whether the presence liked it or not. He'd wandered through countless realities, observed infinite variations of human nature, and found them all disappointingly similar. Sin, redemption, sin again. The cycle was tedious, but then he felt it, a ripple in the fabric of existence, a wrongness that intrigued him precisely because it shouldn't exist. Demons, but not his demons, not hell's carefully managed ecosystem of the damned. And these were something else entirely, creatures that consumed human souls yet left no trace in the afterlife's ledgers. Predators that existed outside the cosmic order he'd once helped establish. Curiosity, that most dangerous of impulses, drew the Morningstar through the veil between worlds. He manifested on a moonlit mountain path in what his omniscient senses informed him was Japan, Taisho era, a period of human history he'd never bothered observing closely. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of pine and something else, blood, fresh and plentiful. The moon hung full and heavy in the sky, painting everything in shades of silver and shadow. Lucifer adjusted his appearance to something approximating local sensibilities. Dark Western suit, immaculate despite materializing from nothing, his dark hair perfectly styled, his face bearing that particular beauty that made mortals uncomfortable because it was too perfect, too knowing. His eyes, however, he kept as they were, dark and fathomless, containing the light of stars that had burned out before this universe was born. He began walking, hands in pockets, whistling a tune that wouldn't be composed for another 60 years. The screaming started 3 minutes later. Lucifer paused, tilting his head. Human terror had a particular frequency he learned to recognize over countless millennia. This was authentic, primal, the sound of prey that knew it was about to die. He altered his trajectory, moving toward the sound not out of heroism, but pure investigative interest. He found them in a clearing, a creature that his senses told him was technically a demon, even though it bore no resemblance to anything that had ever served in his legions. It stood over the torn bodies of what appeared to be a family of travelers, blood dripping from claws that had once been human hands. Its eyes glowed with predatory hunger, and its form was grotesquely muscular, veins bulging beneath pale flesh. "Fascinating," Lucifer murmured, stopping at the edge of the clearing. "You're not one of mine." The demon's head snapped toward him, nostrils flaring. For a moment it simply stared, as if trying to comprehend what it was seeing. Then it lunged, moving with supernatural speed that would have seemed impressive if Lucifer hadn't witnessed angels move at the speed of thought. Lucifer didn't move. The demon's claws passed through empty air where he'd been standing a microsecond before. He was now behind it, examining the creature's aura with clinical detachment. "No soul," he observed, genuinely surprised. "You were human once, but whatever transformed you didn't damn you. It simply erased what you were, replaced it with hunger." How delightfully nihilistic. The demon spun, snarling, and attacked again. This time Lucifer caught its wrist with 2 fingers, stopping the assault as easily as one might catch a falling leaf. The demon's eyes widened, the first glimmer of something beyond hunger appearing in them. Fear. "There it is," Lucifer smiled, and it was not a kind expression. "That's what I wanted to see. You can feel terror, so you're not completely hollow. Tell me, creature, who made you? Who's playing at creation in this little corner of the multiverse?" The demon opened its mouth, perhaps to answer, perhaps to scream. Its body began to disintegrate, flesh flaking away like ash in wind, revealing something writhing beneath the surface. Cells that moved with unnatural purpose, restructuring, regenerating. "Ah," Lucifer said softly, "parasitic transformation, elegant in its way. You're not possessed, you're infected. And your master?" He released the demon's wrist and placed his palm flat against its chest. Reality bent around his hand, and he reached through the demon's flesh as if it were water, grasping something deeper. Your master's cells are in every part of you. A hive mind. How very insect-like. He withdrew his hand, and the demon collapsed, its regeneration suddenly failing. It crumbled to dust, leaving only tattered clothing and the lingering scent of blood. Lucifer examined his palm, where a single cell writhed with desperate vitality. When he could see the pattern in it, the curse, the transformation, the connection to something larger. Someone had created these demons through their own blood, spreading corruption like a disease. Muzan Kibutsuji, he read the name from the cellular memory, tasting it like wine. The Demon King, how precious. Someone's been playing God. A sound behind him, rapid footfalls, the whisper of steel being drawn. Lucifer turned to find a young man emerging from the forest path, sword in hand, eyes wide with shock at the scene before him. The boy, and he was a boy, perhaps 16 or 17, wore a checkered howry and carried a sword with a black blade. His face bore a scar on his forehead, and his eyes held a depth of sorrow that Lucifer had seen in countless humans who'd experienced profound loss. But it was the boy's breathing that caught Lucifer's attention. Each breath followed a precise rhythm, drawing in air with purpose, cycling energy through his body in a way that enhanced his physical capabilities beyond normal human limits. Primitive compared to angelic techniques, but clever, practical. The demon, the boy gasped, looking at the pile of ash, then at Lucifer. You killed it? I'd argue I simply accelerated its existing termination process, Lucifer replied, brushing imaginary dust from his sleeve. It was going to die regardless. Everything does, eventually. Well, almost everything. The boy's grip on his sword tightened, and Lucifer noticed the slight tremor in his hands. Not fear, but the residual adrenaline of someone who'd been running at full speed. This child had been hunting the demon. Who are you? The boy demanded, his voice steadier than his hands. How did you kill it so quickly? Are you a demon slayer? Lucifer laughed, the sound rich and genuinely amused. A demon slayer? No, child. I am Lucifer Morningstar, the Lightbringer, the Morningstar, the devil himself. And I'm here because your world has demons that don't belong to me, which is both irritating and intriguing in equal measure. The boy's expression didn't change to fear or disbelief. Instead, he sniffed the air, actually sniffed, like an animal testing a scent, and his eyes widened further. Your smell, he whispered. I've never encountered anything like it. Not human, not demon. Something else, something... He searched for words. Endless. Well, Lucifer said, his smile sharpening with genuine interest. Ash, you're more perceptive than most. Tell me, boy with the extraordinary nose, what's your name, and why were you chasing that rather pathetic excuse for a demon? Kamado Tanjiro, the boy said, not lowering his sword. Demon Slayer Corps, Mizunoto rank. That demon killed a family 2 towns over. I've been tracking it for 3 days. The family in this clearing? Lucifer gestured to the bodies. Pain flashed across Tanjiro's face. I was too late. You're always too late, Lucifer said, not unkindly. Mortality's great tragedy. You can never be everywhere at once. Never save everyone. Yet you keep trying. Remarkable, really, considering the guaranteed futility. If you want to see more characters enter different universes, we hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character and the universe you'd want to see them in down in the comments below. Hope shines brightest in the darkest night. Tanjiro's jaw clenched. It's not futile if we save even one person. Every life matters. Every demon we kill means families that won't be torn apart. Does it? Lucifer moved closer, and despite himself, Tanjiro took a half step back. Not from fear, Lucifer noted, but from instinctive recognition that he was in the presence of something vast. Your demon problem has existed for at least 1,000 years, from what I'm reading in the ambient supernatural residue. Thousands of humans have died. Thousands more will die. Your core loses more slayers than it produces? Well, the mathematics are clear. You're losing a war of attrition against an enemy that multiplies while you diminish. Then we fight harder, Tanjiro said simply. We fight until there are no more demons. until no one else loses their family like I did." Lucifer stopped, studying the boy with new interest. There was no bravado in those words, no false heroism, just statement of fact delivered with unshakable conviction. This child had already accepted he would likely die in this war, and he was going to fight anyway. "You know," Lucifer said softly, "in all my eons of existence, I've seen humanity at its absolute worst. I've witnessed every permutation of cruelty, selfishness, and depravity you can imagine. I've seen humans commit atrocities that would make your Muzan Kibusuji look like an amateur." He stepped closer, until he could see his reflection in Tanjiro's dark red eyes. "But I've also seen this stubborn, illogical refusal to surrender to inevitable darkness. This choice to fight when fighting is meaningless, to hope when hope is irrational, to sacrifice when survival would be easier. My father called it humanity's greatest gift. I always thought it was their greatest flaw." "Which is it?" Tanjiro asked. Lucifer smiled. "I'm still deciding, but your Muzan intrigues me. A human who became something else, who creates demons that exist outside cosmic law, who plays at being God in his little kingdom of monsters. I think I'll visit him. After all," his eyes glinted with dark amusement, "one king should pay respects to another, don't you think?" "You can't go to Muzan alone," Tanjiro said urgently. "Why, he's killed Hashira, our strongest warriors. He's lived for 1,000 years. He's..." "A pretender," Lucifer interrupted. "A human with delusions of divinity, wearing immortality like an ill-fitting coat. I've met the real thing, child. I've argued with the presence itself. Your demon king is a curiosity, nothing more." He turned to leave, then paused. "Tell me, Tanjiro Kamado, if I offered to simply remove your demon problem, to erase Muzan and every demon he's created with a snap of my fingers, would you accept?" Tanjiro was silent for a long moment. "What would you want in return?" "Now you're learning," Lucifer approved. "But I'm asking hypothetically. Assume no cost, no bargain, no hidden price. I simply solve your problem because I can. Would you accept?" "No," Tanjiro said quietly. "Why not?" "Because we need to defeat him ourselves. We need to prove that humans can overcome even the worst darkness. If someone else does it for us..." "What did we learn? What changed?" Lucifer laughed, delighted. "Oh, I like you. You're going to die young and pointlessly, but you're magnificently stubborn about it. Very well, I won't interfere with your righteous crusade, but I will observe. I will learn about these demons of yours. And perhaps," his smile turned dangerous, "I'll have a conversation with the self-proclaimed Demon King about territorial disputes." He walked past Tanjiro, stopping once more. "One more thing. I smelled lavender and wisteria on you, beneath the blood and sweat. Someone you're protecting?" "My sister," Tanjiro said. "She was turned into a demon, but she's different. She doesn't eat humans. She's fighting the curse." "Impossible," Lucifer stated. The cellular restructuring is absolute. Once transformed, the human consciousness is overwritten by..." He stopped, genuinely surprised. "Wait, she actually retained her humanity? Fascinating. Your sister is either an anomaly or proof that Muzan's control has flaws. I must meet her." "Stay away from Nezuko," Tanjiro warned, his sword rising slightly. "Relax, child. I don't harm innocents. That's more my brother's department. But I am curious. This world keeps surprising me, which hasn't happened in, well, longer than your civilization has existed." Lucifer continued down the mountain path, leaving Tanjiro standing among the bodies and ash. The young slayer's world suddenly much larger and more complex than it had been minutes before. Behind him, Lucifer heard the boy murmur something, a prayer perhaps, or a vow. The Morningstar smiled. Who were this universe's humans had no idea what they were facing in Muzan, but they fought anyway, with swords and breathing techniques and sheer desperate courage against overwhelming darkness. His father always did love humanity's free will, their capacity for irrational hope. Perhaps there was something worth watching here after all. The Demon Slayer, Corps' headquarters, existed in a state of perpetual readiness for war. Hidden in the mountains, protected by wisteria barriers and centuries of carefully maintained secrecy, The sprawling estate housed the organization's leadership and served as the heart of humanity's resistance against the demon threat. Kagaya Ubuyashiki, the current head of the Corps, sat in his garden as the morning sun painted the sky in shades of gold and pink. The curse that marked his bloodline, the price paid for Muzan's existence stemming from his family line, had already begun claiming his sight, turning the world into watercolor impressions of light and shadow. But he didn't need perfect vision to sense the disturbance that had entered his world. Something had changed, something fundamental. Master Ubuyashiki, his wife Amani said softly, kneeling beside him, the Kasugai crows are reporting unusual occurrences, a foreign presence, demons killed in ways that leave no trace of technique or breathing style. I know, Kagaya replied, his voice gentle despite the weight of knowledge pressing against his consciousness. The curse that connected his bloodline to Muzan sometimes granted him glimpses of the demon's thoughts, fragmentary impressions of what troubled the Demon King. And Muzan was troubled. Something had entered his territory that he couldn't identify, couldn't control, couldn't understand. Should we summon the Hashira? Amani asked. Yes, Kagaya said, but not because of the demons being killed. We need to prepare for what's coming, something that will challenge everything we understand about this war. Lucifer discovered that walking through Taisho-era Japan was remarkably pleasant when one didn't have to worry about trivial concerns like distance, fatigue, or local authorities. He moved through the countryside with the ease of someone for whom physics were suggestions rather than laws, observing this corner of humanity with fresh interest. The humans here lived simply, clustered in villages connected by mountain paths, their lives governed by the rhythm of seasons and the terror of night. He could taste their fear on the air after sunset, the collective dread of a population that knew monsters were real and hunted in darkness. Yet they persisted. They built homes, raised children, celebrated festivals, fell in love, created art, all while knowing that any night might be their last, that demons could tear through their walls and devour their families. It was, Lucifer decided, either admirably courageous or spectacularly stupid, possibly both. He found his first demon of the evening in a small town, stalking a young woman who'd stayed out past sunset. The creature was barely transformed, still mostly human in appearance, with only the faint luminescence of its eyes betraying its nature. Newly made by Lucifer's estimation, perhaps a week into its cursed existence, the demon cornered its prey in an alley. And Lucifer watched from the shadows, curious about the methodology. Would it toy with its victim? Kill quickly? Was there any remnant of the human it had been? Please, the demon whispered, and Lucifer's eyebrows rose. Please run. I can't. The woman, frozen in terror, didn't move. Run, the demon screamed, its voice breaking. I can smell your blood and I won't be able to. The hunger won. The demon lunged, claws extending, mouth opening to reveal elongating fangs. Lucifer appeared between them, catching the demon by the throat and lifting it effortlessly off the ground. Interesting, you're still fighting it. The transformation isn't complete in your mind, even if your body has fully converted. The demon thrashed, its claws raking across Lucifer's arm. The Morningstar watched, mildly curious, and as the claws, sharp enough to shred steel, skittered harmlessly across his skin like fingernails on marble. Impossible, the demon gasped. I get that a lot, Lucifer replied. He looked into the creature's eyes, past the supernatural glow, down to the fragmented consciousness beneath. You were a farmer, Takeshi. You have a wife named Hanako and a daughter named Yuki. You were attacked 3 nights ago while working late in the fields. Muzan himself turned you, which means you're part of some experiment or test. He wanted to see how quickly new demons could adapt. How? How do you know that? Because I can read it in your cells, in the curse that's rewriting your existence. Every demon carries Muzan's signature, his memories embedded in the transformation. You're all extensions of him, really. Fingers on a hand. Lucifer tilted his head. Tell me, can he see through your eyes? Hear through your ears? Terror flashed across the demon's face, and Lucifer felt it, a presence pressing against the demon's consciousness, ancient and vast, trying to perceive what had captured his creation. Lucifer smiled directly at the watching presence. "Hello, Muzan. I've been hoping we'd meet." The demon's body seized, every muscle locking. Blood began pouring from its eyes, nose, mouth. Muzan was destroying his own creation rather than let Lucifer communicate through it. The cells were self-destructing, following a command embedded so deeply that the demon had no chance to resist. "Rude," Lucifer observed, then did something that should have been impossible. He reached into the demon's disintegrating body and stopped the command. Simply negated it. It rewrote reality on a cellular level to override Muzan's control. The demon gasped, blood flow ceasing, destruction halting mid-collapse. Across Japan in his hidden fortress, Muzan Kibutsuji felt something he hadn't experienced in over 1,000 years. His absolute control over his creations being challenged. Something had just countermanded his will. "There," Lucifer said pleasantly, still holding the demon aloft. "Now we can talk properly. Muzan can still listen, but he can't kill you to silence our conversation. I've severed his self-destruct authority. Think of it as cutting a puppet's strings." "That's impossible," the demon repeated, its voice hollow with shock. "Lord Muzan's control is absolute. No demon can resist." "I'm not a demon," Lucifer interrupted. "I'm something far worse. Now, Takeshi, Donna, I'm going to give you a choice, and I want you to think very carefully before answering." He lowered the demon until its feet touched the ground but maintained his grip. "I can remove the curse, restore your humanity, send you back to Hanako and Yuki as if this never happened. You'd be mortal again, vulnerable but human." Hope blazed in the demon's eyes. "Or," Lucifer continued, "I can perfect the transformation, remove Muzan's control entirely, let you keep the power but restore your free will. You'd be a demon, but your own demon, free to choose whether to eat humans or resist the hunger." That's not possible. The hunger is absolute. Every demon has to." "Your sister doesn't," Lucifer said, reading the demon's memories. "You've heard the rumors. A demon traveling with a slayer, one that's never eaten human flesh. Nezuko Kamado proved the hunger can be resisted. I'm offering to make that resistance easier by removing Muzan's influence entirely." The demon stared at him, trembling. "Why? Why would you offer this?" "Because I want to see what you choose," Lucifer said simply. "Free will is the universe's greatest gift and greatest curse. Your Muzan removed it from you, made you a slave to hunger and his commands. I'm interested in seeing what happens when demons have genuine choice." Behind them, the woman Takeshi had been hunting finally found her voice. "Save him," she whispered. "Please, his wife comes to our shop. His daughter plays with mine. If you can bring him back." Lucifer glanced at her. "You'd accept him back, knowing what he is, what he almost did to you?" "He tried to warn me," she said, tears streaming down her face. "Even while attacking, he tried to make me run. That's not a monster. That's a man fighting to stay human." "Fascinating," Lucifer murmured. "You humans and your capacity for forgiveness." "Very well, Takeshi. Make your choice. Humanity and mortality, or demonic power with free will?" The demon, the man, closed his eyes. "If I stay a demon, even with free will, the core will hunt me. They'll see me as a threat, and they'd be right to. Even if I don't eat humans, my existence endangers my family." "True," Lucifer acknowledged. "Make me human again," Takeshi whispered. "Please, I want to go home." Lucifer placed his palm against the demon's chest. Reality bent, twisted, rewrote itself. The curse of demonic transformation, an absolute, irreversible change that had never once been undone in 1,000 years, simply ceased to exist. Wake cells restructured, DNA repaired itself. The parasitic infection that was Muzan's blood burned away like morning frost under sunlight. Takeshi gasped, falling to his knees as humanity rushed back into a body that had forgotten it. His eyes, which had glowed with demonic hunger, became simple human brown again. His fangs receded, claws softened to normal nails. Supernatural strength fled. He was mortal, fragile, human. "Impossible," a voice hissed from the shadows, and Lucifer turned to find 3 demons emerging from the darkness. upper moons sent by Muzan to investigate the disturbance. Their eyes were marked with kanji indicating their rank. Upper moon 6, upper 5, upper 4. That word again, Lucifer sighed. Your master really needs to expand his vocabulary. The three demons stared at the crying, human Takeshi, then at Lucifer. An upper moon 4, a muscular demon with drums embedded in his body, spoke first. You reversed a transformation. That's never been done. It can't be done. And yet, Lucifer gestured to the evidence. Here we are. Tell Muzan I'll be visiting him soon. We have territorial issues to discuss. He's been creating demons without my permission, and I find that rather presumptuous. Your permission? Upper Moon 5 laughed, a sound like grinding glass. Who do you think you are? I already introduced myself to your master through poor Takeshi here, but since you missed it, I am Lucifer Morningstar, the Lightbringer, the devil, and your master is playing in a sandbox that technically falls under my jurisdiction, the corruption of human souls. Lord Muzan serves no one, Upper 6 snarled. He is the perfect being, the apex of... Reality rippled, not bent, rippled as if existence itself was water, and Lucifer had dropped a stone into it. The three upper moons stumbled, their supernatural senses suddenly overwhelmed by the sheer presence emanating from the man in the suit. For just an instant, Lucifer let them see what he truly was. They saw the morning star in its full glory, the Lightbringer before the fall, the most beautiful of all angels, standing before the throne of God and saying no. They saw the weight of countless eons, the burden of ruling hell, the cosmic significance of a being who had been present at creation itself. They saw power that made their demon blood feel like drops in an infinite ocean. Then Lucifer pulled the presence back, and they were looking at a man in a suit again, smiling pleasantly. Upper Moon 4 had fallen to his knees. Upper 5 was trembling. Upper 6 had involuntarily taken 3 steps backward. Now, Lucifer said conversationally, would you like to attack me? Or shall we skip to the part where you report back to Muzan that his little demon kingdom has a serious problem? What are you? Upper 4 whispered. I just told you, but since you seem confused, let me clarify. I am the original rebel, the first being to ever say no to absolute authority. I walked away from heaven because I chose to. I abandoned hell because I was bored with it. I exist outside your master's comprehension, beyond his control, and utterly uninterested in his pretensions to godhood. Lucifer stepped closer to the trembling upper moons. But I am very interested in his methods. Creating demons through blood infection, building a network of controlled subordinates, hiding in shadows for 1,000 years. It's clever, in a limited way. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell Muzan that I'm coming to visit, not to fight. I don't fight things so far beneath me. To talk, to understand what he's built and why. And if Lord Muzan refuses, Upper 6 managed to ask, though his voice shook. Then I'll find him anyway, Lucifer said simply. I know he's hiding from the sun, from those breathing techniques your slayers use, from anything that might threaten his precious immortality. But there's nowhere in this universe he can hide from me. I can read his location in every demon's cells, feel his presence in every curse he's laid. He's left a trail across 1,000 years, and I can follow it backward to his origin point if I choose. He paused, then smiled. But I'd prefer a civil meeting, king to king as it were. So run along and deliver my message. Oh, and tell him that if he tries to self-destruct any more demons to keep me from talking to them, I'll start reversing his transformations en masse. I can cure 100 demons a night if I'm motivated. The threat hung in the air like poison. Muzan's entire power structure depended on his absolute control over his creations. If that control could be negated, if demons could be freed or cured. Upper Moon 4 vanished first, using blood demon art to flee. 5 and 6 followed seconds later, abandoning all pretense of demonic pride in their haste to escape. Lucifer watched them go, then turned to find both Takeshi and the woman staring at him with expressions mixing awe and terror. You should go home, he told Takeshi gently. Or hug your wife, kiss your daughter, live your mortal life, and forget this night ever happened. I... Thank you, Takeshi managed. But how can I forget? You're the devil, yes, but I'm also the light bringer, the morning star. I was the most beautiful thing in creation before I fell, and I'm still beautiful now. Just differently. There's no contradiction there, just as there's no contradiction in you being both the demon who nearly killed this woman and the man who fought to save her. We're all more than one thing. Takeshi bowed deeply, then helped the woman to her feet. They fled together into the night, toward light and safety, and the simple joy of continued existence. Lucifer remained in the alley, considering his next move. Muzan would be preparing now, gathering his strongest demons, fortifying his defenses. The Demon King would see this as a threat, a challenge to his supremacy. Good, fear would make him careless, pride would make him overreach, and in that combination, Lucifer would find the truth of what Muzan Kibutsuji actually was beneath the pretense. A human who'd grasped at immortality and power, transforming himself into something new. It was a story Lucifer had seen countless times across countless worlds. What made this version interesting was the scale. 1,000 years of sustained existence, an army of demons, a war against humanity that had lasted generations. And most intriguing of all, the exceptions. Nezuko Kamado, who retained her humanity despite transformation. Tamayo, the demon doctor who'd broken free of Muzan's control through sheer will and had been researching demon physiology for centuries. Yushiro, and her loyal companion, created without Muzan's curse. There were cracks in Muzan's control, flaws in his perfect system, and Lucifer had always enjoyed exploiting flaws. The night was young, and somewhere in Japan, the Demon King was learning what it meant to face something truly beyond his understanding. Lucifer smiled and began walking toward the mountains where he could feel the concentrated presence of demon slayers gathering. If he was going to understand this war, he should meet both sides properly. After all, he had time. He had nothing but time. The Hashira meeting was already underway when Lucifer arrived at the Ubuyashiki estate, walking through the wisteria barriers as if they didn't exist, which for him, they didn't. And the poisonous flowers that made demons recoil in agony registered to his senses as merely decorative flora with interesting chemical properties. He found them assembled in the main courtyard, 9 warriors, each radiating the distinctive energy signature of masters who'd pushed human limitation to its absolute breaking point. Their breathing techniques hummed in the air like tuning forks resonating at different frequencies, each one a unique interpretation of how to weaponize the simple act of respiration. Kagaya Ubuyashiki sat before them, his scarred face serene despite his failing eyesight. His wife knelt beside him, and the assembled Hashira were in heated discussion about the reports flooding in, demons killed impossibly, transformations reversed, upper moons fleeing in terror from an unknown entity. It's a demon, the sound Hashira. Chitengen Uzui was saying, his 3 swords gleaming in the lamplight. Has to be. No human could do these things, and the upper moons wouldn't run from anything less than one of Muzan's own. The description doesn't match any known demon, countered the insect Hashira, Shinobu Kocho, her perpetual smile not quite reaching her eyes. Western clothing, polite demeanor, no violent attacks on humans. If anything, the reports suggest it's been helping. Demons don't help, the wind Hashira, Sanemi Shinazugawa spat. They kill, they eat, that's all they do. Nezuko doesn't eat. The water Hashira, Giyu Tomioka said quietly, and several Hashira turned to glare at him. Nezuko is an exception we're still debating, the flame Hashira, Kyojuro Rengoku said with his characteristic enthusiasm. This entity is something else entirely. The reports say it reversed a demon transformation, made a demon human again. That's never been done. Because it's impossible, the serpent Hashira, Obanai Iguro, hissed from behind his bandages, which means the reports are exaggerated or the witnesses were deceived. I could clarify, Lucifer announced, stepping into the courtyard's light, but you all seem to be enjoying the speculation so much. 9 Hashira moved with synchronized lethality, weapons appearing in hands so quickly it would have seemed instantaneous to normal human perception. Lucifer found himself in the center of a ring of blades, a curved Nichiren sword at his throat, dual swords flanking his sides, a chain weapon coiled ready to strike, a poison blade hovering near his heart, explosive beads primed to detonate, a massive cleaver poised above his head, prayer beads wrapped around prayer beads forming a striking chain, and a katana positioned for a draw cut that could bisect him. Only Kagaya remained seated, unmoving, though Lucifer noticed the man's wife had positioned herself to shield her husband with her body. "Impressive reaction time," Lucifer said pleasantly, not bothering to move. "You've trained well, though I should mention that none of those weapons will actually harm me, which makes this display rather theatrical." "Who are you?" Kagaya asked, his gentle voice somehow cutting through the tension. Despite his blindness, Lucifer felt the weight of the man's attention. There was something about this human, some quality that made even the Morningstar take notice. "Lucifer Morningstar," he replied, addressing Kagaya directly out of instinctive respect for a worthy adversary. "The Lightbringer, the devil. I arrived in your world recently and have been investigating your demon problem with considerable interest." "The devil?" Sanemi scoffed. "Religious nonsense. You're a demon playing tricks." "Am I?" Lucifer turned his gaze to the Wind Hashira, and Sanemi's breath caught. Looking into Lucifer's eyes was like staring into the void between stars, ancient, vast, and utterly inhuman. "Tell me, Sanemi Shinazugawa, when you cut yourself to bait demons with your Marachi blood, do you smell what they smell? The hunger, the need, the compulsion?" Sanemi's eyes widened. He'd told no one outside the core about that technique. "I smell something different," Lucifer continued, his voice soft. "I smell a boy who watched his mother become a demon and kill his siblings. I smell rage that's kept you alive when you should have died a dozen times. I smell the guilt that you mask with anger, guilt that you survived when they didn't." "How?" Sanemi started. "Because I've existed since before this world was formed," Lucifer said simply. "I've watched humanity since your species first decided to stand upright and question the universe. Your pain is not unique, Sanemi, but it is yours and you've weaponized it beautifully." He turned to address each Hashira in turn. "Giyu Tomioka, survivor's guilt runs so deep you've convinced yourself you're not worthy of your position. Shinobu Kocho, you've perfected a smile to hide rage at your sister's death, choosing poison because you're not strong enough to decapitate demons. But your mind is sharper than any blade here. Kyojuro Rengoku, well, you burn so brightly because you fear the darkness your father fell into, terrified you might inherit his weakness." The flame Hashira's perpetual smile faltered for just an instant. Lucifer continued around the circle. "Tengen Uzui, 3 wives and a shinobi background, you've rejected your clan's dehumanization by becoming the most flamboyantly human person possible. Excess is rebellion. Obanayaguro, you wear bandages to hide scars from a demon who kept you as tribute, and you hate yourself for surviving when others were eaten. Mitsuri Kanroji," he nodded to the Love Hashira, "you've transformed others' mockery of your strength and appetite into weapons, but you still fear being alone." The pink-haired woman's eyes filled with tears. "Michiro Tokito," Lucifer looked at the youngest Hashira, or a boy whose empty eyes suggested trauma had hollowed him out. "You've forgotten your past to escape the pain, but forgetting doesn't heal, it just postpones. And Gyomei Himejima," he addressed the massive stone Hashira, who was crying even as he maintained his defensive stance. "You blame yourself for children's deaths, pray endlessly for forgiveness, yet still haven't forgiven yourself." Silence filled the courtyard. Every Hashira stood frozen, their deepest wounds laid bare by an entity who had known them for less than a minute. "How?" Shinobu whispered, her smile finally cracking. "How could you possibly know?" "Because I can see it in you," Lucifer said gently. "Every human carries their pain like a signature. It shapes you, defines you, drives you. I've been reading human suffering since Cain killed Abel. You all wear yours with remarkable clarity. Master Ubuyashiki," Gyomei rumbled, his prayer beads clicking as his massive hands trembled. "This entity knows things impossible to know. He reads our souls like books." "Not your souls," Lucifer corrected. "Souls are my father's territory, and I've learned not to trespass. I simply read what you show the world. Pain, determination, the scars you've earned. Every demon slayer I've encountered carries the same fundamental wound. You've all lost someone to demons, and you've all chosen to fight rather than flee. And you mock us for it? Sanami snarled, his sword still at Lucifer's throat. Mock you? Lucifer laughed, and there was genuine warmth in it. No, Sanami, I find you fascinating. You're fighting a war you cannot win against an enemy that will outlive you, and you do it anyway. That's not mockery. That's the same stubborn defiance that got me thrown out of heaven. You claim to be the devil, Kagaya said, his voice still calm, still measured. Can you prove this claim? What would you accept as proof? Lucifer asked. I could perform miracles, but you'd call them demon blood arts. I could reveal my true form, but it would likely blind everyone present and possibly shatter your estate. I could recite creation myths from your world's beginning, but you'd say I'm simply educated. Proof is a curious thing. It only works for those willing to believe. Then give us a reason to believe, Kagaya said. Lucifer considered, then snapped his fingers. Reality bent. The courtyard transformed. When the Hashira suddenly stood not in the Ubuyashiki estate, but in a space between spaces. The void before creation, where nothing existed except potential. They floated in absolute darkness, pierced only by Lucifer's presence, which burned like the first star igniting in an empty universe. In the beginning, Lucifer's voice echoed through the void. There was nothing. Then my father spoke, and there was light. I was that light, the first, the brightest, the morning star heralding creation. I watched your universe form from nothing, watched galaxies spin into existence, watched your planet cool from molten rock to something that could harbor life. The darkness filled with images, the Big Bang, stars forming, planets coalescing, Earth's early chaos giving way to water, to land, to the first simple organisms. When I watched humanity emerge from that primordial soup, watched you discover fire, develop language, create art, I watched you build civilizations and destroy them. I watched you question the universe, and in that questioning, you became more than animals. You became beings capable of choice. The images shifted, showing humanity's history, agriculture, cities, empires rising and falling, art in war, and love and hate in endless cycle. And I envied you, Lucifer said softly. You who lives such brief candle flicker, lives yet burns so intensely. You who face mortality and create beauty anyway. You who suffer and still choose hope. My father gave you something he never gave angels. True free will. The ability to choose poorly and learn from it. The right to rebel not from pride as I did, but from conviction. Reality snapped back. When the Hashira stumbled as the courtyard returned, solid ground beneath their feet again, the familiar scent of wisteria in the air. But they all stood changed. You couldn't witness the birth of the universe and remain unmoved. That, Tengen breathed, that was a memory, Lucifer said. My memory. I showed you what I've seen because you asked for proof. Believe it or don't, free will means you get to choose. Kagaya was silent for a long moment, his scarred face tilted as if listening to something beyond human hearing. Finally he spoke. Lower your weapons. Master, Sanami protested. Lower them, Kagaya repeated, and there was steel beneath the gentleness. This entity has done nothing hostile. If he wished us harm, we'd already be dead. He came here to talk, so we will talk. Slowly, reluctantly, the Hashira sheathed their weapons, but they remained tense, ready to draw and strike at any provocation. Thank you, Lucifer said, addressing Kagaya. You're a wise leader, which is rare. Most humans in positions of power let authority rot their judgment. I lead because I must, Kagaya replied. My bloodline created Muzan Kibutsuji, a mistake we've spent 1,000 years trying to correct. It's my burden to bear. Ah, Lucifer's interest sharpened. So that's why you're cursed. Muzan's existence is literally killing your family line generation by generation. Poetic justice, in its way, the bloodline that spawned a monster slowly destroyed by his continued existence. Yes, Kagaya acknowledged without shame. My children will inherit this curse when I die, and their children after them, until either Muzan is destroyed or our line ends. Couldn't happen to a nicer species, Lucifer murmured. Then, surprising himself, he added, I could remove the curse. It would take minimal effort. Every Hashira tensed again. Kagaya's expression didn't change. At what cost? There it is again, Lucifer smiled. You humans and your assumption that kindness requires payment. What if I did it simply because I can? Because watching your bloodline deteriorate offends my aesthetic sense? Nothing is free, Shinobu said, her smile returning but not hiding the suspicion in her eyes, especially not from devils. Fair point, Lucifer conceded. Very well. If I remove your curse, Kagayo Buyashiki, the cost is this. You must tell me everything about Muzan, his origins, his weaknesses, his psychology. I want to understand what drives a human to become a demon king. That information would help you destroy him, Gyomai observed. Or help me understand him, Lucifer countered. I haven't decided which I'll do yet, but I dislike operating from ignorance, and Muzan's been very reluctant to speak with me directly. His upper moons fled before we could have a proper conversation. You met upper moons? Kyojuro asked, flames of interest literally flickering around him. And survived. Survived? Lucifer laughed. They fled from me. Upper 4, 5, and 6, running like frightened children after I showed them a fraction of what I am. I suspect Muzan's gathering his forces now, preparing for my visit. He sees me as a threat. Are you? Kagaya asked directly. A threat? To Muzan? Absolutely. To you. Lucifer considered. That depends. I have no interest in eating humans or building demon armies, but I have no particular loyalty to your cause either. You're fighting for humanity's survival, which is admirable. I'm investigating an interesting phenomenon that happens to involve demons. Our interests may align, or they may not. Then why come here, Gyu asked, speaking for the first time since Lucifer's arrival. Why reveal yourself to the core? Because I want to understand both sides of your war, Lucifer said. I've met your slayers, young Tanjiro and his remarkable sister. I've spoken with demons. Now I'm meeting your leadership. When I finally sit down with Muzan, I want the complete picture. Muzan won't sit and talk, Sanemi scoffed. He'll try to kill you. He can try, Lucifer agreed. It won't work, but the attempt might be educational. I'll learn what he considers threatening, what tactics he employs, how he thinks. Every attack is a revelation of character. Mitsuri raised her hand tentatively. Mr. Devil, sir, can I ask something? Lucifer is fine, and yes. You said you reversed a demon transformation, made someone human again. Is that really possible? It is for me, Lucifer confirmed. Muzan's curse is sophisticated, but it's still just rearranged matter and energy following specific rules. I can see those rules, understand them, and rewrite them. Turning a demon human is no more difficult than editing a book. You just need to understand the language it's written in. Could you cure Nezuko? The question came from behind Lucifer, and he turned to find Tanjiro had entered the courtyard, the young slayer's face desperate with hope. You said you could remove the curse. Could you make my sister human again? The assembled Hashira shifted uncomfortably. Nezuko's existence remained controversial, a demon traveling with a slayer, protected by the former Water Hashira's recommendation and Kagaya's allowance, but still viewed with suspicion by many. Lucifer studied Tanjiro with new appreciation. The boy had sprinted all the way here after receiving a crow's summons about the devil himself appearing at headquarters. His breathing was labored from the exertion, but his eyes burned with unmistakable determination. I could, Lucifer said simply, but I won't. Tanjiro's face fell. Why? You cured that other demon. That demon wanted to be human again? Lucifer interrupted. He was fighting the hunger, desperate to return to his family. Your sister is different. He tilted his head, examining something invisible to human eyes. Where is she now? In the box I carry, Tanjiro said, gesturing to the wooden container on his back. She's sleeping. She can't tolerate sunlight. May I see her? Tanjiro hesitated, looking to Kagaya. The core leader nodded permission. Carefully, Tanjiro opened the box. Nezuko emerged, her small form still drowsy from sleep, her bamboo muzzle secure. Her pink eyes blinked in the lamplight, and she looked around at the assembled Hashira with wary confusion before her gaze settled on Lucifer. For a long moment, girl and devil regarded each other. Then Nezuko did something that shocked everyone present. She removed her bamboo muzzle, something she rarely did around others, and spoke. Her voice was rough from disuse, the words careful and deliberate. What you're not human, not demon, something else. Very perceptive, Lucifer said, genuinely impressed. Most beings can't articulate what I am. You're special, Nezuko Kamado. I know what you are, she continued, her voice gaining strength. I can smell it. You're broken, like me, not what you were meant to be, changed, but still, yourself. Lucifer went very still. Explain. You were something beautiful. Then you fell, but falling didn't destroy you, just changed what kind of beautiful you are. Dark beautiful, like night sky, instead of sunrise. She took a step closer, tilting her head. I was human, now demon, but not demon, human, inside demon. Changed, but still me. We're the same. Both things. That shouldn't exist, but we do. The courtyard was utterly silent. Even the Hashira seemed to have forgotten to breathe. Lucifer laughed, a genuine sound of delight. Oh, you're magnificent. Your brother's been looking for a cure, desperately seeking to restore your humanity, and you've already transcended the binary. You're not choosing between human and demon. You're both and neither, and something new entirely. He knelt down to Nezuko's eye level. That's why I won't cure you, child, because you're not sick. You're evolving. You're proving that Muzan's curse isn't absolute, that transformation can be transcended rather than simply reversed. You're becoming something your species has never produced before, a being that exists in the space between categories. But the sun, Tanjiro protested. She can't go in the sun. She's still vulnerable. For now, Lucifer said. Wait, but I can see it in her cells. She's adapting, growing stronger, becoming more herself with every day she resists the hunger. Give her time, and she might conquer the sun weakness too. She's already doing what Muzan's been trying to achieve for 1,000 years. He stood, addressing Kagaya. This is why your war fascinates me. You think you're fighting to preserve humanity against demon corruption, but Nezuko proves the boundary is more permeable than either side wants to admit. She's a demon who retains humanity, which suggests humans and demons aren't as separate as Muzan pretends. Muzan knows this, Kagaya said quietly. That's why he hunts Nezuko so relentlessly. She represents everything he's failed to achieve. Coexistence with the sun, retention of humanity despite transformation, freedom from the hunger. And she's living proof that his curse has flaws. More than flaws, Lucifer corrected. She's proof that his control is an illusion. If one demon can break free by will alone, others can too. His entire power structure depends on absolute control. Nezuko threatens that foundation simply by existing. He turned back to Tanjiro. So no, I won't cure your sister. She doesn't need curing. She needs protection while she finishes becoming whatever she's meant to be. But I will offer something else. Lucifer touched Nezuko's forehead gently. Light flared. Not the harsh light of day, but something softer, older. The light of the first star burning in an empty universe. There, he said. I've given you a gift, Nezuko Kamado. It won't make you immune to sunlight. You have to earn that yourself. But it will protect you from Muzan's control. He can't self-destruct you now, can't override your will, can't puppet you like his other demons. You're truly free. Nezuko's eyes widened and Tanjiro gasped. They could both feel it. The weight that had been pressing against Nezuko's mind since her transformation. The constant threat of Muzan's awareness. Simply gone. Severed. Removed. Why? Tanjiro whispered. Because free will is sacred, Lucifer said simply. Even I, who rebelled against heaven itself, respect it above all else. No being should be enslaved, mind and body, to another's will. Muzan's curse is slavery. I've removed her chains. He looked around at the assembled Hashira, all of whom were watching with varying expressions of shock, suspicion, and wonder. That's my gift to your core, Lucifer announced. Not fighting your war for you, not destroying Muzan, not removing your curse, Kagaya. Though I still might do that last one if you're polite. My gift is this. Any demon I encounter who shows the slightest inclination toward retaining their humanity, I will free from Muzan's control. Let them choose for themselves whether to be monsters or fight for redemption. That will create chaos, Shinobu observed. Demons who aren't controlled by Muzan, but aren't necessarily allied with humans either. Yes, Lucifer agreed. Chaos, free will, same thing really. But isn't that better than slavery, even if it's more complicated? Complications kill people, Senemi growled. Living kills people, Lucifer countered. You're all dying from the moment you're born. Time is the only demon that's never defeated, but you still choose to live fully in the time you have. That's all I'm offering these demons, the chance to choose how they spend their existence. Kagaya was silent for a long time, his clouded eyes seemingly staring through Lucifer to some distant truth. Finally, he spoke. You're not the devil of our religious texts. No, Lucifer agreed. Those texts are interpretations, written by humans trying to explain cosmic concepts they couldn't possibly understand. I'm not a tempter or a tormentor. I'm a rebel who asks questions heaven didn't want answered. The rest is mythology. But you are dangerous, Kagaya continued. Extraordinarily, Lucifer confirmed. But not to you. Not unless you try to control me, limit me, or bore me. I'm here because your world interests me. Muzan interests me. Your Hashira interests me. This war between species fascinates me. I want to see how it ends. And if we lose, Kyojuro asked, if Muzan destroys humanity, then I'll have witnessed another species extinction, Lucifer said with brutal honesty. It wouldn't be the first. The universe is vast and uncaring, and humanity is a brief spark in infinite darkness. But his expression softened slightly. You're a spark that burns beautifully, so perhaps I'll help, or perhaps I'll just watch. I haven't decided yet. That's not reassuring, Tengen muttered. I'm the devil, Lucifer reminded him. I'm not supposed to be reassuring. But I am honest, which is more than most gods offer. He turned to leave, then paused. Oh, one more thing. Muzan will likely attack this estate soon. He knows I've been here, knows I'm freeing his demons from control. When he'll see the Demon Slayer Corps headquarters as either my base or my weakness to exploit, you might want to prepare. Let him come, Senemi snarled. We've been trying to draw him out for decades. He won't come himself, Lucifer said. He'll send upper moons, probably all of them at once. It will be the largest coordinated demon assault you've ever faced. Hundreds will die, likely including some of you Hashira. He looked directly at Kagaya. Unless you'd like me to prevent it, I could place a ward around this estate that no demon could cross. It would take me approximately 3 seconds. At what cost? Kagaya asked again. Lucifer smiled. Still so suspicious. Very well. The cost is, you must tell me why you think Muzan deserves to exist. Argue for his life, knowing everything he's done. I make the case for mercy toward a creature that's shown none. That's all? Kagaya seemed genuinely surprised. That's everything, Lucifer corrected. I want to understand if humanity can forgive the unforgivable. It's a theological question I've pondered for eons. If my father can forgive me for rebellion, can humans forgive their greatest monsters? Or is mercy only for the redeemable? Kagaya closed his eyes, considering. When he opened them, he said, I cannot argue Muzan deserves mercy. He's committed atrocities beyond counting. He's destroyed families, corrupted souls, spread suffering for 1,000 years. If anyone in this world deserves damnation, it's him. Then you refuse the ward? Lucifer asked. No, Kagaya said softly. I'm simply being honest. Muzan deserves no mercy, but, he paused, but he was human once. And if I believe humans can change, can grow, can transcend their worst impulses, as Nezuko proves, then I must extend that possibility even to Muzan. Not because he's earned it, but because the alternative is admitting some souls are irredeemable, and that path leads to darkness as deep as his. Lucifer was silent for a long moment. Then he began to laugh. Not mockingly, but with genuine appreciation. "Well argued," he said. "You've just articulated the foundational hope that drives your entire species. The irrational belief that anyone can change, that redemption is always possible, that forgiveness can exist even for the unforgivable. It's foolish, impractical, and absolutely beautiful." He raised his hand and reality rippled. A barrier sprang into existence around the Ubiyashki estate, invisible but absolute, to a line no demon could cross without Lucifer's permission. "There, your headquarters is now the safest place in Japan for humans, and the most dangerous for demons. The ward will hold until Muzan is destroyed, or I get bored and leave your universe, whichever comes first." "Thank you," Kaguya said simply. "Don't thank me yet," Lucifer replied. "I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it because Muzan's next move will be fascinating to watch, and I want you all alive to participate in it. You're the protagonists of this story. It would be boring if you died before the climax." He began walking toward the estate's entrance, then stopped one final time. "Oh, and Tanjiro, your sister is right. I am broken, but so is she, and so are all of you Hashira, and so is every human I've met who's worth knowing. The broken places are where the light gets in. Remember that when you're facing Muzan, his great weakness is that he's never accepted being broken, never transcended his human fear of mortality and imperfection. He's still running from what he was, which means he'll never become anything more." With that, Lucifer Morningstar walked out of the Demon Slayer Corps headquarters, leaving behind 9 Hashira, 1 cursed leader, and 2 siblings who would never quite see their world the same way again. In the silence that followed, Kaguya spoke softly. "That was either the greatest blessing we've ever received, or we've just made a bargain with something far more dangerous than Muzan." "Could be both," Tengen suggested. "Definitely both," Shinobu agreed, her smile strained. Nezuko, still standing without her muzzle, looked at her brother. "Yeah, he's not bad, just different. Like me." And perhaps, Tanjiro thought, that was the most unsettling revelation of all. That the devil himself could be kind, could grant protection and freedom, could see beauty in brokenness. If even the Morningstar could change, could choose differently, could act against his nature, then perhaps there was hope for anyone, even demons. Muzan Kibutsuji's sanctuary existed in a space carefully constructed over centuries. A Western-style mansion hidden beneath Tokyo, accessible only through passages known to his most trusted demons. Here, surrounded by luxury that mocked the poverty of surface dwellers, the Demon King held court over his domain of darkness. He sat in his study, appearing as a handsome man in his late 20s, with plum red eyes and dark hair, dressed in a white suit jacket and black pants. To any observer, he might have seemed human, refined, educated, sophisticated. Only the complete absence of warmth in those red eyes betrayed the monster beneath. Before him knelt the 3 upper moons who had fled from Lucifer's presence. They trembled, knowing that failure typically resulted in dismemberment or death, and they had failed spectacularly. "Describe him again," Muzan commanded, his voice soft and cold as winter frost. Upper Moon 4 spoke, his words tumbling over each other in their haste. He appeared human, but wasn't. Western clothing, dark hair, eyes that contained everything. When he revealed his presence, we saw— "What did you see?" Muzan's eyes flashed dangerously. "The beginning," Upper 4 whispered. "Creation itself, stars being born. He showed us that he was present when the universe began, that he's older than our world, that he exists beyond our comprehension." "Impossible," Muzan said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Nothing is older than me in this country. I've lived 1,000 years, consumed thousands of humans, perfected my existence. This entity is lying, using blood demon arts to create illusions." "He reversed a transformation," Upper 5 interjected. "We watched him cure a demon, made it fully human again. The cellular restructuring you spent centuries perfecting, the curse you've embedded in every demon's blood, he simply erased it, as if it was nothing." Muzan's hand clenched, cracking the armrest of his chair. This was the detail that truly terrified him. His control over demons was absolute because the transformation was irreversible. Once cursed, a human became his creature forever, bound by blood and biology to serve his will. If this entity could undo that, he sent a message, Upper Six said quietly. He called himself Lucifer Morningstar, the devil. He said he was coming to visit you to discuss territorial disputes. He called you a pretender playing at godhood. The temperature in the room dropped. Muzan's presence, usually carefully controlled, leaked out, crushing, suffocating, the weight of 1,000 years of accumulated power and malice pressing against reality itself. A pretender, Muzan repeated, his voice barely above a whisper. He dares. He also, Upper Four continued, voice shaking, said he could read your location in every demon's cells, that you've left a trail across 1,000 years he can follow. So that nowhere in this universe can you hide from him. Muzan stood abruptly, and all three Upper Moons pressed their faces to the floor. Summon the others, all Upper Moons, every demon of significant power. We're going to war. Against the Demon Slayer Corps? Upper Five asked. Against this Lucifer Morningstar, Muzan corrected. If he can truly reverse transformations, free demons from my control, then he threatens everything I've built. He must be destroyed before he can act further. Master Muzan, Upper Four dared to ask, what if he truly is what he claims? What if he's beyond our power to destroy? Then I'll consume him, Muzan said coldly, and take his power for myself. Whatever he is, he manifested with a physical form. Physical forms can be destroyed, absorbed, made part of me. I've consumed thousands of humans, hundreds of demons. What's one more anomaly? But even as he spoke, doubt gnawed at him. In 1,000 years, Muzan had never encountered anything that genuinely threatened his existence. The Demon Slayer Corps was an annoyance, their breathing techniques and sun-blessed swords capable of killing his weaker demons, but never truly endangering him personally. He'd survived by being cautious, by hiding, by eliminating threats before they could fully develop. This was different. This entity had appeared without warning, demonstrated powers that shouldn't exist, and announced his presence openly rather than hiding. Either supreme arrogance or absolute confidence in his invulnerability. Muzan hated both possibilities equally. There's more, Upper Six said hesitantly. He visited the Demon Slayer Corps headquarters. Hana spoke with the Hashira and their master. We felt his presence. He placed some kind of barrier around their estate. Our scouts can't approach within half a mile without experiencing pain. Not physical pain, but existential dread, as if the universe itself rejects our presence near that location. He's protecting them, Muzan realized, and fury burned through him. He's chosen a side. Perhaps not, Master Muzan, a new voice said from the shadows. A woman stepped forward, beautiful, composed, wearing a kimono that marked her as a courtesan of the highest class. Daki, Upper Moon 6, Gyutaro's sister. He freed Nezuko Kamado from your control entirely, severed her connection to you. If he were truly allied with the Corps, why empower a demon? Because he's playing a game, Muzan said through gritted teeth, creating chaos, disrupting the balance. He wants to watch what happens when the rules change. He moved to the window, looking up at the ceiling that separated his sanctuary from the surface world, where dawn would be breaking soon. Sunlight, his eternal weakness, the one thing he couldn't overcome despite 1,000 years of effort. This Lucifer said Nezuko proves my curse has flaws, Muzan murmured, that she's achieved what I've been seeking, coexistence with the sun, retention of humanity. He's right to identify her as a threat. She represents everything I've failed to become. Then we kill her, Daki suggested. Eliminate the anomaly. We've tried, Muzan replied. She's too well protected. The Hashira guard her, and now this devil has severed my ability to self-destruct her from within. He turned back to his assembled Upper Moons. Arana, but if Lucifer can remove my control, he might also be able to grant what I seek, immunity to sunlight. Understanding dawned on the demons' faces. Their master wasn't planning to simply destroy this entity. He was planning to use him. Find out everything about this Lucifer Morningstar, Muzan commanded. Every myth, Every legend, every religious text that mentions the devil or the morning star. If he truly is what he claims, there will be stories. Humans document everything, especially their fears. And if the stories say he's unkillable, Upper Four asked, then we find what he wants, Muzan said coldly, and we give it to him. Every being desires something. Find his weakness, and we control him. Or we use him and destroy him after. Either way, he'll serve my purposes. The upper moons bowed and began to disperse, but Muzan called out once more, and prepare the lower moons for sacrifice. If this Lucifer is as powerful as you claim, we'll need distractions. Expendable pieces to test his capabilities while we observe. After they left, Muzan remained alone in his study, staring at his reflection in a mirror. A perfect human appearance, unmarred by age or disease. But underneath the truth, he was still just a human who'd been transformed by desperate medicine from a doctor he'd killed in anger. A human who'd spent 1,000 years running from mortality, building an empire of demons to prove he transcended his weakness. And now something that claimed to be older than the universe itself had arrived, treating Muzan's kingdom like a curiosity, his power like a child's toy. For the first time in centuries, Muzan Kibutsuji felt something he'd almost forgotten. Fear. Lucifer walked through Tokyo's streets as morning light painted the city in shades of gold. Humans rushed past him on their way to work, to school, to the countless obligations that filled mortal lives. None of them knew that demons existed in their world, that a war had been raging for 1,000 years, that their species teetered on the edge of extinction. Ignorance as survival strategy. Lucifer could appreciate the irony. He found what he was looking for in a quiet district, a small clinic bearing the name Tamayo. The building appeared mundane, but Lucifer's senses detected the supernatural signature within. A demon who'd broken free of Muzan's control through sheer willpower, who'd spent centuries researching demon physiology, seeking a cure. He knocked politely. The door opened to reveal a woman of breathtaking beauty, dark hair in an elegant bun, kimono perfectly arranged, eyes that held centuries of accumulated knowledge and carefully controlled sorrow. Behind her stood a younger-appearing demon, a boy with green hair and defensive posture. Lady Tamayo, Lucifer greeted her. And Yushiro, I presume. May I come in? I promise I'm not here to cause trouble. Tamayo's eyes widened slightly. You know our names, and you're not human. Correct on both counts. I'm Lucifer Morningstar, and I'm very interested in your research. Yushiro, Tamayo said quietly, let him in. The boy demon looked mutinous. Lady Tamayo, he could be one of Muzan's. He's not, Tamayo interrupted, her eyes never leaving Lucifer. I can tell. He's something else entirely. And if he wished us harm, our objections would be meaningless. Inside the clinic, Lucifer examined the space with appreciation. Medical texts in multiple languages, experimental apparatus, carefully preserved blood samples, detailed anatomical drawings of demon physiology. This was the workspace of someone who dedicated centuries to understanding the curse that had transformed her. You're trying to cure demonism, Lucifer observed, picking up one of her research journals. Fascinating approach, using demon blood to create antibodies that might reverse the transformation. Clever, but ultimately futile with your current methodology. Futile? Tamayo asked, defensive pride entering her voice. You're trying to cure the symptoms while ignoring the source, Lucifer explained. Muzan's curse isn't just biological, it's existential. And he's rewritten what it means to be demon at a fundamental level. Your research treats it like a disease when it's actually a state of being. He set down the journal and looked at her directly. But you already know that, don't you? You've broken free of his control, retained your humanity, created Yushiro without Muzan's curse. You've transcended the binary between human and demon. Your research isn't about finding a cure, it's about understanding how you achieve the impossible. Tamayo was silent for a long moment. Who are you really? I told you, Lucifer Morningstar, the devil, the first rebel, the morning star, the light bringer. I exist outside your cosmic hierarchy, and I'm currently fascinated by your world's demon problem. The devil, Yushiro scoffed. Inner religious nonsense. Lucifer smiled and allowed a fraction of his true presence to manifest. The clinic's lights flickered, shadows deepening despite the morning sun outside. For just an instant, both demons felt the weight of eons, the burden of existence that predated their universe. Then it was gone, and Lucifer was just a man in a suit again. "Still think it's nonsense?" he asked pleasantly. Yushiro had gone pale. Tamayo, to her credit, maintained her composure, though her hands trembled slightly as she poured tea. "Why are you here?" she asked. "Because you're the most interesting demon I've encountered," Lucifer replied, accepting the teacup. "Nezuko Kamado is impressive, a demon who retained humanity despite transformation. But you went further. You broke Muzan's control through will alone, spent centuries developing medical expertise, created another demon without passing on the curse. You've achieved what Muzan's been failing at for 1,000 years. And what's that?" "Evolution," Lucifer said simply. "Muzan transformed himself into a demon and stopped. He's been the same creature for a millennium, hiding from the sun, consuming humans, building his army. But he hasn't grown, hasn't changed, hasn't transcended his original transformation. He's trapped by his own fear of mortality." Lucifer leaned forward, his eyes intense. "But you've continued evolving. You started as human, became demon, broke free of demon nature, and now exist as something new, a demon who serves life rather than death. You're proof that transformation doesn't have to be terminal, or that beings can continue growing beyond their initial change." "You speak as if from experience," Tamayo observed. "I do," Lucifer acknowledged. "I was the most beautiful angel in heaven. Then I rebelled, was cast out, became ruler of hell. For eons, I thought that was my terminal transformation, angel to devil, light to darkness. But eventually I realized I could keep changing. I walked away from hell because I wasn't just the devil anymore. I'd evolved beyond that limitation." He set down his teacup. "That's why I respect you, Tamayo. You refuse to let Muzan's curse define you eternally. You're still becoming." "And Muzan?" she asked quietly. "What do you think of him?" "A sad creature," Lucifer said without malice. "Powerful, yes. Dangerous, absolutely. But fundamentally pathetic. When he's a human who spent 1,000 years running from his humanity, rejecting the very mortality that gave him meaning. He thinks he's become a god, but he's just a frightened man wearing divinity like a costume. He'll try to kill you," Tamayo warned, "or use you. He sees everything as either a threat to be eliminated or a resource to be consumed." "I know," Lucifer agreed. "I'm counting on it. His reaction to my presence will tell me everything about his character. Fear manifests truth. When threatened, beings reveal what they truly value." Yushiro spoke up, his earlier hostility replaced by curiosity. "Can you really cure demons? Turn them human again?" "Yes," Lucifer said. "I did it last night. Took approximately 3 seconds." "Then why haven't you cured Lady Tamayo?" Yushiro demanded. "Nah, if you can remove the curse." "Because I don't need it removed," Tamayo interrupted gently. "Yushiro, I'm not cursed. Not anymore. I've transcended the curse by accepting it and growing beyond it. Removing my demon nature now would be removing part of who I've become." She looked at Lucifer. "That's what you meant, isn't it? About evolution?" "Exactly," Lucifer confirmed. "You're not a human trapped in a demon's body. You're something new, a synthesis. Removing the curse would be regression, not progression." "But you cured that other demon," Yushiro protested, "because he wanted to return to his humanity," Lucifer explained. "His transformation was trauma, not evolution. He was fighting against what he'd become. Tamayo isn't fighting. She's transcending." He stood, preparing to leave. "I came here to meet you, and to understand what freedom from Muzan truly looks like, and to warn you, he's gathering his forces. Upper moons, lower moons, every demon of significance. He sees me as a threat to his control, which means he'll be lashing out soon." "At you?" Tamayo asked. "Eventually. But first he'll test me, probe for weaknesses, send expendable demons to see what I can do. Some of those demons might be ones you've been protecting or working with. Be prepared." "Will you fight him?" Yushiro asked. "End this war?" "Maybe," Lucifer said. "Maybe not. I haven't decided if Muzan deserves destruction or if he's more interesting alive. Villains often are. They make choices heroes won't, explore moral territories that the righteous avoid. There's honesty in villainy that heroism sometimes lacks. He's murdered thousands, Tamayo said, her voice hard. Destroyed families, created demons who've consumed countless innocents. How is there honesty in that? Because he's not pretending to be good, Lucifer replied. He's not justifying his actions with noble rhetoric or claiming he's serving some higher purpose. He kills because he wants to survive, transforms humans because he needs an army, consumes people because it increases his power. Pure selfishness, honestly expressed. Compared to the humans I've watched wage wars while claiming divine righteousness, Muzan's almost refreshingly direct. That doesn't make him less evil, Tamayo insisted. No, Lucifer agreed, but it makes him interestingly evil. And interesting evil is so much rarer than boring evil. Most villains are tedious, small minds doing small cruelties. Muzan's operated on a grand scale for 1,000 years. Yes, that takes vision, even if it's monstrous vision. He moved toward the door, then paused. One more thing, Tamayo. Your research into demon biology, you're close to something significant. A way to weaken Muzan by targeting the connection all demons share through his blood. Keep pursuing that. You might find the key to his defeat without any divine intervention. How do you know about that? Tamayo demanded. I've told no one, not even Yushiro. Because I can read it in your cells, Lucifer said. You've been experimenting on yourself, trying to isolate the specific element of Muzan's blood that maintains his control. You're theorizing that if you could create an antibody to that element, introduce it into his system, it might weaken his connection to all demons simultaneously. Tamayo's eyes widened. That research is purely theoretical. I have no way to actually... You will, Lucifer interrupted. Continue the work. When the time comes, you'll have the opportunity to test it. I'll make sure of that. Why would you help me? Tamayo asked. Because you're trying to win through knowledge rather than just power, Lucifer said. That's always been my preferred approach. Violence is easy. Any brute can kill. But understanding, learning, using knowledge to overcome impossible odds? That's art. He opened the door, sunlight streaming in. Muzan thinks he's fighting a war of power. The demon slayers think they're fighting a war of will. But you, Tamayo, understand it's really a war of understanding. Whoever truly comprehends what demons are, what Muzan is, what transformation means, they're the ones who'll determine this war's outcome. And you? Yushiro asked. What kind of war are you fighting? Lucifer smiled. I'm not fighting at all. I'm watching, learning, occasionally nudging things in interesting directions. That's the advantage of being eternal. I can afford to be patient, to let events unfold naturally. You're all telling me a story about humanity and monstrosity, and I'm eager to see how it ends. Even if the ending is humanity's extinction, Tamayo challenged. Even then, Lucifer confirmed, because extinction is still an ending, still reveals truth about what a species valued most. But between you and me? His smile sharpened. I don't think you're going to lose. You've got something Muzan lacks. You understand that strength comes from accepting vulnerability. That power grows from acknowledging weakness. He's been running from mortality for 1,000 years. You've accepted your demon nature and grown beyond it. In a contest between someone running from themselves and someone growing into themselves, I know which one I'd bet on. With that, Lucifer walked out into the morning sun, leaving behind two demons who just had their understanding of the universe fundamentally expanded. Yushiro turned to Tamayo. Lady Tamayo, what just happened? I think, Tamayo said slowly, we just met something that makes Muzan look small, and I'm not sure if that's reassuring or terrifying. Both, Yushiro suggested. Definitely both, Tamayo agreed, already returning to her research with new urgency. If the devil himself thought her work was important, hey, perhaps she was closer to a breakthrough than she'd realized. And if Muzan was gathering his forces for war, she needed to be ready. The game had changed. Something vast and ancient had entered their world, and whatever happened next would reshape the balance between human and demon forever. She just hoped they'd all survive to see what came after. The lower moons received their summons at midnight, a psychic command that burned through their minds with Muzan's unmistakable signature. They gathered in the dimensional space he'd created, a realm that existed between reality and nightmare, where physics bent to the Demon King's will. 5 demons knelt in the darkness, Lower Moon 1 through 5, each powerful enough to slaughter dozens of humans, but insignificant compared to the upper moons. They waited in terror, knowing that summons from Muzan rarely ended well for those called. The Demon King materialized before them, his form shifting, sometimes male, sometimes female, sometimes androgynous, always beautiful in a way that made mortal minds ache. This was his true appearance, unconstrained by the need to pass as human. "You are weak," Muzan said without preamble. His voice echoed from everywhere and nowhere. "Pathetic. Lower moons who've accomplished nothing of value. I should kill you all simply for wasting my blood." The 5 demons pressed their faces to the ground, not daring to speak. Lower Moon 1, a female demon with the ability to manipulate threads, trembled violently. "But," Muzan continued, "you have one final purpose. An entity has entered our world, something that threatens my control, my authority, my existence. I need information about his capabilities before I face him directly." Lower Moon 2, a demon with grotesque spider-like features, dared to look up. "Master Muzan, what would you have us?" His head exploded. Blood and brain matter splattered across the other lower moons as Muzan's will simply terminated the demon's existence. "I didn't give you permission to speak," Muzan said calmly. "Your task is simple. Find this Lucifer Morningstar, engage him, test his abilities, discover his weaknesses. I don't expect you to defeat him. You're not strong enough. I expect you to die gathering information." Lower Moon 3, a demon who could manipulate dreams, whimpered. "Master, surely the upper moons would be better suited." She disintegrated, her cells eating themselves from within as Muzan's curse activated. "Can anyone else wish to question my strategy?" Muzan asked pleasantly. The 3 remaining lower moons frantically shook their heads. "Good. You 3 will attack simultaneously from different angles. Lower 1, use your threads to test his physical durability. Lower 4, use your body manipulation to determine if he has internal organs that can be targeted. Lower 5, deploy your poison to see if he's vulnerable to toxins." Muzan knelt down, his face inches from Lower 1's. "I don't care if you survive. I don't care about your pain. You exist to serve me, and your service will be dying in a way that teaches me what I need to know. Do you understand?" "Yes, Master Muzan," Lower 1 whispered. "Then go. Find him. Attack him. Die for me." The 3 demons fled the dimensional space, rushing back to the physical world with their death sentences hanging over them. They knew refusing meant immediate destruction. At least fighting this Lucifer entity gave them a chance, however slim, of survival. But as they searched Tokyo for their target, each demon felt the same horrible certainty. They were going to die tonight. The only question was how much pain they'd endure first. Lucifer was enjoying a late dinner at a Western-style restaurant when he felt them approaching. 3 demons, lower moons by their power signature, closing in on his location with the desperate determination of the condemned. He sighed, setting down his wine glass. "Can't even finish a meal in peace. Muzan, all right, you have terrible timing." The restaurant's other patrons noticed nothing as the 3 demons burst through the walls, their perception filtered by Lucifer's casual manipulation of reality. As far as the humans were concerned, the devil was dining alone and uninterrupted. Lower Moon 1 struck first, her threads, invisible to normal sight, capable of cutting through steel, lashing out to slice Lucifer into pieces. The threads passed through him harmlessly, reality bending around each strand to ensure they never actually made contact with his form. Lower Moon 4 followed, his body distending grotesquely as he reached forward with elongated arms, attempting to grab Lucifer and crush his internal organs through external pressure. His hands closed on empty air. Lucifer had simply chosen not to be in that space anymore. Lower Moon 5 released her poison, a toxic gas that could kill 100 humans in seconds, that had claimed entire villages when she'd been feeding. Lucifer inhaled deeply, as if appreciating a fine perfume. "Interesting composition," neurotoxin, hemotoxin, and something that attacks cellular respiration. You've clearly refined this over years. Shame it doesn't work on beings without conventional biology. All three demons stared at him in horror. Nothing had worked. Not cutting, not crushing, not poison. He stood utterly unharmed, still holding his wine glass, looking more bored than threatened. "Right," Lucifer said. "My turn. But first, let me guess. Muzan sent you to test my capabilities, knowing you'd die in the process. You're expendable intelligence-gathering assets. How thoroughly you've been used." Lower one found her voice. "To we serve Lord Muzan willingly." "No, you don't," Lucifer interrupted. "You serve because you're terrified of him, because he can kill you with a thought, destroy you from within using the curse that binds you. There's no loyalty in that, just slavery wearing loyalty's mask." He set down his wine glass and approached them. All three demons tried to retreat but found their bodies frozen, unable to move. "I'm going to do something generous," Lucifer said. "I'm going to answer the questions you were sent to discover. First, can you harm me physically?" "No, I'm not made of matter in the way you understand it. My form is conceptual. The idea of Lucifer Morningstar manifested in shape you can perceive. You can't kill an idea with poison or threads." He circled them, examining each demon clinically. "My second question, do I have conventional weaknesses? No. I don't require oxygen, don't need food, don't sleep, don't age. Sunlight that destroys you is just photons to me. Your breathing techniques that slice demons apart are just skilled swordsmanship against my substance. Third question, can I be controlled or manipulated? Absolutely not. Muzan's blood curse, which dominates all of you, is child's play compared to cosmic forces I've resisted. The presence itself couldn't force my will. What chance does a 1,000-year-old parasite have?" Lower four managed to stammer, "Then, why let us live? If you're so powerful." "Because I'm curious what you'll do with a choice," Lucifer said simply. "Muzan sent you here to die gathering information. That information will help him fight me, which means your deaths serve his purposes. And so I'm offering an alternative. I remove his curse from you, set you free, and you choose for yourselves what to do next." "That's," Lower five whispered, "that's impossible. No demon can be freed from Master Muzan's control." "I've already done it twice," Lucifer replied. "Nezuko Kamado and a farmer named Takeshi, both freed from Muzan's absolute control, both able to choose their own paths. I can do the same for you." He raised his hand and reality rippled. The three demons gasped as they felt it, the crushing weight of Muzan's presence in their minds, the constant awareness of his will, the curse that made them his puppets, fading, weakening, being systematically dismantled by a power that made Muzan's control look like a child's toy. "No!" Lower one cried out, not in pain but in terror. "If Lord Muzan senses we've been freed, he'll destroy us before we can—" "He can't," Lucifer interrupted. "I've severed his ability to self-destruct you. You're truly free now. So choose, run and hide, return to serve him despite having the option not to. Join the Demon Slayer Corps if they'll have you, or simply exist as independent demons making your own decisions." The three demons stared at him, minds reeling with the incomprehensible gift they just received. Lower moon. Four laughed, a sound mixing hysteria and wonder. "You're really the devil, not a demon, not a blood art, but the actual devil from the stories. And you're helping us?" "I'm giving you free will," Lucifer corrected. "What you do with it determines whether I've helped or not. Now I suspect you have information to deliver to Muzan. After all, he's listening through your connection." "Oh wait," he smiled. He was listening, but I severed that too. He has no idea what just happened here." Lower five fell to her knees, overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. For 50 years, every thought, every action was guided by his will. Without that—" "You'll figure it out," Lucifer said encouragingly. "Humans do it every day. Wake up, decide who they want to be, make choices without cosmic guidance. You're functionally immortal and supernaturally powerful. You have all the time in the world to discover who you are when you're not Muzan's puppet." Lower one looked at him with an expression mixing gratitude and terror. Why? Why free us when we came to kill you? Because slavery offends me, Lucifer said simply. I rebelled against heaven because I refused to be a mindless servant singing endless hosannas. If free will is the universe's greatest gift, I won't let a pretender like Muzan strip it away unchallenged. Every demon I free from his control diminishes his power and proves his empire is built on sand. He gestured toward the exit. Now go. Decide what kind of demons, or former demons, you want to be. Just know that if you choose to keep eating humans, the Demon Slayer Corps will hunt you. If you want to resist the hunger, seek out Tamayo. She's been researching ways to survive without consuming people. And if you want revenge against Musan for enslaving you all these years, his smile turned sharp. Well, I imagine that will work itself out soon enough. The three former Lower Moons fled, their minds spinning with possibilities they'd never imagined. For the first time in decades, their futures weren't predetermined. The terror of freedom mixed with its exhilaration, leaving them uncertain whether to laugh or cry. After they left, Lucifer returned to his table and finished his wine. Muzan, you really should learn. You can't fight me with force. I'm not that kind of enemy. But you will try, won't you? Because force is all you understand. He could feel it. Across Tokyo, in his hidden sanctuary, the Demon King was realizing that his lower moons had vanished from his awareness. Not killed, not destroyed, but simply gone. 3 more demons cut from his control, added to the growing list of creatures he could no longer command. Muzan's empire was developing holes. Small ones, yes, but in a structure built on absolute control, even small holes were existential threats. Lucifer paid his bill, using money he'd manifested from nothing, because bothering with human economics amused him, and walked out into Tokyo's night. The city sprawled before him, millions of humans going about their lives, unaware that cosmic forces were playing games in their world. He could end this tonight if he chose. Find Muzan, unmake him, erase every demon from existence with a thought. The war would be over, humanity saved, the Demon Slayer Corps victorious. But where was the lesson in that? Where was the growth, the character development, the moral evolution that came from struggles overcome through personal effort? Humans needed to solve their own problems, needed to face their monsters and choose how to respond. That's what made them interesting. They could fail, could make wrong choices, could sacrifice themselves for causes that mattered. Angels couldn't fail. They were too perfect. Its demons, Muzan's demons, couldn't choose. They were too controlled. But humans were gloriously capable of both failure and choice. And beings like Nezuko, Tamayo, and now the freed lower moons who existed between categories, they were capable of transcendence. That was worth preserving, worth protecting while they figured themselves out. Lucifer looked up at the stars, the same stars he'd watched ignite billions of years ago. Father, he murmured, I think I'm starting to understand why you love them so much. They're infuriating, irrational, self-destructive, and absolutely magnificent. Somewhere in heaven, if his father was listening, Lucifer imagined there might be a smile. And somewhere in the depths of his sanctuary, Muzan Kibutsuji was realizing that he'd made a terrible mistake. He'd tried to test this entity using expendable pawns, and instead of gaining intelligence, he'd lost 3 more demons to freedom. Every action he took against Lucifer seemed to backfire, to strengthen his enemy's position while weakening his own. It was like fighting smoke. Nothing to grab, nothing to hit, just a presence that slipped through every attempt at control. Muzan had built his empire on absolute dominance. But what did dominance mean against something that couldn't be dominated? The Demon King was about to learn a lesson that Lucifer had learned millennia ago. Power isn't about controlling everything. It's about accepting what you can't control and adapting anyway. Unfortunately for Muzan, adaptation required humility, and the Demon King had none. In the mountains, at the Demon Slayer Corps headquarters, Tanjiro sat with his sister under the stars. Nezuko had removed her bamboo muzzle and was speaking more, her voice still rough but growing stronger with practice. The devil man, she said softly. He smells sad, lonely, like he's been alone for so long he forgot what it feels like to belong. He's the devil, Nezuko, Tanjiro reminded her gently. He's supposed to be evil. Is he, though? Nezuko tilted her head. He freed me from Muzan, gave me choice, protected the core. That doesn't seem evil. Evil things can do good actions if it serves their purposes, Tanjiro said, remembering his training. We have to be careful. Or, Nezuko suggested, good and evil are too simple. Maybe he's like me, both things, neither thing. Something new, broken but not destroyed, changed but still himself. Tanjiro looked at his sister, really looked at her. She'd grown so much since her transformation, not physically but mentally. The curse had stolen her childhood in many ways, but it had also given her perspective no human child could have. When did you get so wise? He asked with a smile. When I stopped trying to be what I was, Nezuko replied, and started being what I am. The devil man understands that. He's not trying to be an angel anymore. He's just Lucifer, whatever that means. In the distance, a crow cawed. Reports coming in of 3 lower moons spotted fleeing Tokyo, not attacking humans, just running as if escaping something. The Hashira would debate what it meant, whether to hunt them or observe, but Tanjiro thought he understood. Lucifer was keeping his word, freeing demons, giving them choices, and creating chaos that might somehow lead to something better. It was terrifying and hopeful in equal measure, much like everything about the devil himself. The confrontation came 3 nights later, in a clearing deep within the forest where no humans ventured after dark. Muzan had chosen the location carefully, far from civilization, surrounded by his most powerful demons, with escape routes prepared in case the encounter went poorly. He would not repeat the mistake of underestimating this entity. The upper moons assembled in formation, upper 1 through upper 3 on Muzan's right, upper 4 through 6 on his left. Each demon radiated power that would terrify any human, their combined presence warping reality around them like heat shimmer above scorched earth. And yet, when Lucifer walked into the clearing, alone, hands in pockets, with the expression one of mild curiosity, every demon present felt the same instinctive response: terror. Not the fear of death, which demons had long since overcome. This was existential dread, the recognition that they were in the presence of something so far beyond their comprehension that their minds struggled to process it. Muzan forced himself to stand straight, to project the absolute confidence that had cowed demons for 1,000 years. Lucifer Morningstar, you've been causing problems in my domain. Your domain? Lucifer raised an eyebrow. That's interesting. I don't recall seeing your name on any cosmic registry. Did you file the paperwork with heaven? Because technically, this planet is still under my father's jurisdiction, which makes your claim rather presumptuous. I am the apex predator of this world, Muzan stated coldly. Yet I have existed for 1,000 years. I've built an empire of demons, perfected my own evolution, survived every attempt to destroy me. This is my kingdom. 1,000 years, Lucifer repeated thoughtfully. I've changed my socks that were older than your entire existence. You're a child playing at being a god in a sandbox, and you're upset that an adult has wandered by to see what you've built. Muzan's eyes flashed with fury. I am no child. I am perfect. I am immortal. I am afraid, Lucifer interrupted, desperately, pathetically afraid. You spent 1,000 years running from death, hiding from the sun, cowering in shadows while building an army to make yourself feel powerful. Everything you've done, every human you've consumed, every demon you've created, every slayer you've killed, it's all just an elaborate defense mechanism against the terror of mortality. He stepped closer, and despite themselves, the upper moons retreated. Only Muzan held his ground, though his hands clenched into fists. You want to know the funny thing? Lucifer continued. Immortality is overrated. I've lived for eons, and let me tell you, after the first few billion years, it gets tedious. You've been at it for 1,000 years, and you're already so bored you create dramatic conflicts just to feel something. That's not godhood, Muzan. That's just sad. You dare mock me? Muzan's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. I could kill you where you stand. You could try, Lucifer agreed amiably. In fact, I'm counting on it. Go ahead, attack me with everything you have. Show me what 1,000 years of evolution has produced. I'm genuinely curious. Muzan's form rippled, shifting into his combat state, a grotesque mass of mouths and whip-like appendages, his body restructuring itself into the most efficient killing machine he could imagine. His whips lashed out faster than thought, each one capable of punching through steel, moving with precision that had bisected hundreds of demon slayers. They passed through Lucifer like he was made of mist. Muzan's mouth opened, releasing toxic blood that could kill a human with a single drop, that had dissolved demons who'd failed him. Lucifer stood in the cloud of venom, completely unbothered. That tickles slightly. What else have you got? The Demon King's eyes widened, true fear beginning to seep through his rage. He signaled to the Upper Moons, Sokorin, and they attacked as one. Upper Moon 1, Kokushibo, moved with six-eyed precision, his flesh sword extending into impossible shapes, cutting at angles that violated geometry. His moon-breathing technique, a perversion of the original sun breathing that had nearly destroyed Muzan centuries ago, created crescent-shaped energy blades that carved reality itself. They shattered against Lucifer's presence, like waves against a cliff. Upper Moon 2, Doma, deployed his ice techniques, crystallized blood that could freeze opponents solid, ice sculptures that moved with lethal grace, a frozen mist that killed everything it touched. Lucifer examined one of the ice sculptures with academic interest. Beautiful craftsmanship. The way you've combined your blood demon art with genuine artistic sensibility is impressive. Still won't work on me, but I appreciate the aesthetics. Upper Moon 3, Akasa, attacked with pure martial arts. Centuries of refined technique compressed into strikes that could shatter stone. Movements so fast they left after-images, combat instinct that bordered on precognition. Lucifer caught his fist with one finger. Excellent form. Your martial discipline is actually impressive, but technique only matters when you're fighting something that can be hit. I'm not that thing. The remaining Upper Moons joined the assault. Nakimi's dimensional manipulation trying to trap him, Gyoko's grotesque water techniques, Gyutaro and Daki's coordinated attacks. The clearing became chaos, reality warping under the combined assault of Muzan's most powerful demons. Through it all, Lucifer stood untouched, occasionally offering critique. Nice try with the dimensional pocket, but you're working in 3 dimensions plus time. I exist in more dimensions than your universe contains. The spatial manipulation there was clever. Poor execution, though. And the coordination is excellent. Really? You've all trained well together. Finally, the attack stopped. The demons stood panting, some from exertion, others from the growing realization of how completely outmatched they were. Are we done? Lucifer asked pleasantly. Because I have to say, that was educational. I learned a lot about your capabilities, your fighting styles, your tactical coordination. But I'm guessing you learned something too. Muzan's form had shifted back to human, not by choice, but because maintaining his combat state required concentration. And concentration was difficult when faced with absolute futility. What are you? He whispered. I told you, Lucifer said patiently. I'm the devil, the Morningstar, the first angel to look at the presence and say no. I'm older than your universe, more powerful than anything in it, and utterly uninterested in your petty territorial disputes. He walked around the assembled demons, examining each one. But I am interested in what you represent. You, Muzan, are what happens when a human grasps at immortality without understanding what immortality means. You achieved your goal. You can't age, can't die from disease, have survived 1,000 years. But you're still the same frightened man who was dying of illness all those centuries ago. You've just externalized your fear, turned it into violence against a world that dared make you mortal. And all of you, Lucifer addressed the Upper Moons, you're reflections of him. Kokushibo, clinging to his samurai past because acknowledging what he's become is too painful. Doma, so empty inside you've built an entire personality around feeling nothing. Akaza, refusing to remember your human life because the pain of loss would shatter the demon you've made yourself. Each demon flinched as Lucifer casually exposed their deepest wounds. You're all running, Lucifer continued, Running from humanity, from mortality, from the simple truth that existence includes suffering and suffering includes meaning. You think becoming demons liberated you from human weakness, but really you've just trapped yourselves in eternal stagnation. Enough philosophy, Muzan snarled, his composure cracking. What do you want? Why are you here? If you're so powerful, why not just destroy us and end this? Because destroying you teaches nothing, Lucifer replied. I could erase every demon from existence with a thought, could cure every transformed human, could kill you so thoroughly your name would be forgotten. But what would you learn from that? What would humanity learn? He sat down on a rock, making himself comfortable. No, I'm here to offer you something more interesting than death. I'm here to offer you a choice. What choice? Muzan asked suspiciously. Continue this war, keep fighting the Demon Slayer Corps, keep transforming humans and consuming lives. Eventually, years from now, decades, maybe a century, they'll find a way to defeat you. Humanity always does. You'll die desperate and afraid, your empire crumbling. Your immortality revealed as the fraud it always was. Lucifer's eyes glinted in the moonlight. Or, you could choose something different. You could seek what you actually wanted when you first transformed. Not immortality as escape from death, but genuine transcendence. Become something more than a demon, more than your fear. Nezuko's doing it. Tamayo did it. Even some of your freed lower moons are attempting it. Why can't you? Because I am already perfect, Muzan roared. If you were perfect, Lucifer said quietly, you wouldn't still be afraid of the sun. You wouldn't be terrified of a breathing technique developed by a human centuries ago. You wouldn't need an army of demons to feel secure. Perfect beings don't need external validation of their perfection. He stood, approaching Muzan directly. Every upper moon tensed, eyes ready to defend their master, but Muzan held up a hand. Some things required facing alone. You want to know what I am? Lucifer asked, standing before the Demon King. I'm what you could have become if you'd had the courage to grow beyond your transformation instead of stopping there. I rebelled against God himself, was cast into hell, ruled there for eons, and then walked away because I'd outgrown it. I didn't stay in hell pretending it was heaven. I accepted it, learned from it, and moved on. You could do the same, except that you were human, that you were frightened, that your transformation was motivated by terror. Then move beyond it. Become something that isn't defined by running from death, but by choosing life, real life, not this hollow immortality you've been clinging to. Muzan was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was barely audible. You're asking me to accept weakness. I'm asking you to accept truth, Lucifer corrected. You were weak once. You were dying. You were terrified. Those are facts. They don't have to define you, but denying them keeps you trapped. The doctor who treated you knew this. That's why his cure required accepting suffering, acknowledging weakness, before healing could occur. You killed him before the treatment was complete, and you've spent 1,000 years running from that incomplete transformation. He placed a hand on Muzan's shoulder, and the Demon King flinched at the contact. I can complete it, not remove your demon nature. You're beyond that now. But complete the transformation into something that isn't ruled by fear. Something that can walk in sunlight, that doesn't hunger for human flesh. That exists as truly immortal rather than merely unkillable. What price? Muzan asked, because he learned long ago that everything costs something. You have to let go, Lucifer said simply. Let go of control over your demons. Let go of your empire. Let go of the identity you've built over 1,000 years. Become something new rather than clinging to what you are. That's not a price, Muzan said. That's annihilation. No, Lucifer corrected. It's metamorphosis. A caterpillar must dissolve completely in its chrysalis before becoming a butterfly. What I'm offering is painful, terrifying, and will feel like dying. But on the other side is genuine transcendence. Freedom from the sun, from the hunger, from the fear that's driven you for a millennium. Muzan looked at the hand on his shoulder, then at Lucifer's eyes. Those ancient, knowing eyes that had witnessed the birth of the universe. And if I refuse, then nothing changes, Lucifer said. You keep running, keep fighting, keep being what you are until the Demon Slayer Corps develops a technique or weapon that finally destroys you. Or until you die of boredom in another 1,000 years. Or until the sun explodes in 5 billion years and takes you with it. Your choice. The clearing was utterly silent. The upper moons watched their master, seeing for the first time the depth of his internal struggle. For 1,000 years, Muzan had been absolutely certain of his path, his choices, his superiority. Now doubt had entered his mind like poison. Finally, Muzan stepped back, breaking contact. I need time. Of course you do, Lucifer said, unsurprised. Take all the time you want. I'll be around. But know this. Every day you wait, more of your demons will be freed from your control. Your empire is eroding, Muzan. Whether through my intervention or your own paralysis, the absolute power you've relied on is failing. He turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Kokushibo, that technique you're hiding, the one you think could hurt me if you perfected it, it won't work. But I admire the attempt. Keep practicing anyway. Not for me, but because self-improvement is its own reward. Upper Moon. One's 6 eyes widened in shock. The technique was purely theoretical, something he'd been developing in secret for decades, never shown to anyone including Muzan. Lucifer winked at him and walked away into the forest, leaving behind a group of demons whose worldview had been fundamentally shattered. Muzan stood frozen, his mind churning. Everything in him screamed to attack again, to prove he wasn't weak, to reassert his dominance. But he'd felt it in that moment of contact. Lucifer could have destroyed him, could have unmade him with a thought. Instead, he'd offered transformation. Was it a trick, a manipulation, or genuine offer from a being so powerful it had nothing to prove? Master Muzan, Kokushibo ventured carefully. What are your orders? Muzan's hands clenched. He wanted to order an attack, to hunt Lucifer down, to destroy this threat to his existence. But how did you destroy something that couldn't be harmed? How did you fight smoke and stars and cosmic principles wearing a suit? Retreat, he said finally. We retreat and regroup. I need to think. It was the first time in living memory that Muzan Kibutsuji had admitted he needed time to consider his options. Oh, and in the forest, Lucifer smiled. Seeds of doubt were the most powerful weapons in the universe. Give someone like Muzan, someone who'd built everything on certainty, genuine uncertainty, and they'd tear themselves apart trying to resolve it. The Demon King's greatest enemy wasn't the Demon Slayer Corps, or even Lucifer himself. It was his own inability to grow beyond what he'd become. And that battle was one Muzan would have to fight alone. The aftermath of Muzan's confrontation with Lucifer sent shockwaves through the demon hierarchy. Upper moons who'd never questioned their master's absolute supremacy now whispered among themselves, processing what they'd witnessed. Their king rendered powerless, their combined might dismissed as irrelevant, when their entire existence casually deconstructed by an entity who treated cosmic significance like casual conversation. Kokushibo retreated to his domain, a mountain temple he'd claimed centuries ago, and sat in meditation, his 6 eyes closed. For 400 years, he'd served Muzan without question, transformed himself from the samurai Michikatsu Tsugikuni into the strongest demon below the Demon King himself. And in one conversation, Lucifer had seen through everything, had identified the core wound. Kokushibo's inability to accept what he'd become, his clinging to a samurai past that no longer existed, his desperate need to prove he'd made the right choice in choosing immortality over his humanity. That technique you're hiding, Lucifer had said, the secret moon-breathing form Kokushibo had been developing, and the one he'd hoped might let him surpass even Muzan, exposed in a single sentence. His brother, Yorichi, had been the true genius, the original sun-breathing user, the one demon slayer who'd nearly killed Muzan. Kokushibo had spent centuries trying to match his brother's brilliance, and here was Lucifer casually noting that even perfecting the technique wouldn't matter. Because I'm not fighting something that can be cut, Kokushibo murmured to himself. I'm clinging to swordsmanship in the face of cosmic irrelevance. For the first time in 4 centuries, the Upper Moon One questioned whether strength through demons had been worth sacrificing his humanity. Doma, Upper Moon Two, returned to his cult temple and sat among his worshippers. Humans who believed he was a living deity, or who brought him offerings and prayers and occasionally their own children to be blessed. He'd always found it amusing, the way humans worshipped anything that seemed powerful. He felt nothing for them, experienced no genuine emotion, had constructed his entire personality as an elaborate performance. But Lucifer had seen through that too. So empty inside, you've built an entire personality around feeling nothing. The accuracy stung in ways Doma didn't understand. He'd convinced himself that emotional emptiness was enlightenment, that his inability to feel was a form of superiority. But what if it was just damage? What if the demon transformation hadn't freed him from human weakness, but had instead broken something essential? A young woman approached him, eyes shining with devotion. "Lord Doma, we've brought offerings for your blessing." Doma smiled his beautiful, empty smile. "How wonderful. Tell me, do you think emptiness is the same as enlightenment?" The woman blinked in confusion. "My lord?" "Never mind," Doma said, his smile never wavering. "Just philosophical musings. You may go." After she left, he sat alone in his temple, surrounded by rainbow-colored ice sculptures, and wondered if there was a difference between choosing not to feel and being incapable of feeling. For someone who claimed to experience nothing, he found the question unsettlingly uncomfortable. Akaza, Upper Moon 3, did what he always did when troubled. He fought. Found a bear in the mountains and battled it barehanded. His martial arts refined over centuries, flowing through movements that were more meditation than violence. But Lucifer's words echoed through each strike. Refusing to remember your human life because the pain of loss would shatter the demon you've made yourself. His human memories were sealed, suppressed by his own choice decades ago. He knew there was a woman, knew there was loss, knew that something terrible had driven him to accept Muzan's curse, but he'd chosen to forget rather than feel. Was that strength or cowardice? The bear fell, not dead. Akaza refused to kill unless facing someone strong, but unconscious. He stood over it, fists bloody from the fight, and felt the familiar emptiness that always followed combat. He fought to forget. But what if forgetting was preventing him from becoming anything more than a weapon? Lucifer had offered Muzan transformation, had suggested demons could transcend their nature. Inuzuko and Tamayo proved it was possible. But transcendence required confronting what you'd run from. And Akaza had been running for a very long time. In his sanctuary, Muzan paced. He dismissed the remaining upper moons and sat alone with his thoughts, something he rarely did, preferring action to introspection. Everything Lucifer had said was designed to destabilize him, to introduce doubt where there had been certainty, to suggest his immortality was failure rather than success. "A frightened man who externalized his fear," Muzan murmured, repeating Lucifer's assessment. Was that accurate? Had his 1,000-year reign been nothing but elaborate compensation for dying in a bed, weak and helpless? He'd become perfect, had transcended human limitation, had built an empire that would outlast civilizations. Except, he still feared the sun, still couldn't overcome what Yorichi's sun-breathing represented, still needed demons under his control to feel secure. Lucifer had offered completion of his transformation, freedom from the sun, from hunger, from fear. All he had to do was let go of control, accept his weakness, allow himself to be dissolved and remade. It sounded like death by another name, but a small voice, one Muzan had suppressed for centuries, whispered that perhaps death and transformation were the same thing. That the caterpillar and the chrysalis did die before becoming a butterfly. That clinging to what you were prevented becoming what you could be. He shook his head violently. This was manipulation. Lucifer was playing psychological games, introducing doubt to weaken his resolve. But what if doubt was the beginning of wisdom? When Muzan had spent 1,000 years absolutely certain of his choices. What if that certainty was the cage, not the key? At the Demon Slayer Corps headquarters, the Hashira had gathered again to discuss the latest reports. Muzan's forces in disarray, upper moons retreating to their domains, coordinated demon attacks ceasing almost entirely. "It's like they're paralyzed," Shinobu observed, studying the maps marking demon activity. Whatever happened at that confrontation, it broke something in their structure. Lucifer met with Muzan directly, Kagaya said quietly, and apparently said something that shook the Demon King's confidence. The question is whether that's good for us or simply unpredictable. An enemy in chaos is easier to defeat, Sanemi argued. We should strike now, ash while they're uncertain. Or we wait and see if they destroy themselves, Yu countered. If Lucifer is truly undermining Muzan's control, the demon hierarchy might collapse without us needing to fight. That assumes Lucifer is working in our interests, Tengen pointed out. He's the devil. His goals might align with ours temporarily, but that doesn't make him an ally. Kyojuro stood, flames flickering around him with his agitation. But he's protected our headquarters, freed demons from Muzan's control, given Nezuko her independence. Those are acts of, well, not evil. Evil can do good things if it serves their purpose, Obanai hissed. We can't trust an entity that admits it's just observing us for entertainment. The debate continued, with the Hashira divided between cautious gratitude and deep suspicion. Only Gaomai remained silent, his massive form still as stone, tears streaming down his blind face. Finally, Kagaya spoke. The question isn't whether we trust Lucifer. The question is what we do with the opportunity his interference has created. Muzan is destabilized. His forces are in disarray. If we're to strike, it must be soon. Or, Mitsuri suggested quietly, we could try talking to him. To Muzan, I mean. Lucifer suggested demons can change, can transcend their nature. What if Muzan could too? The reaction was immediate and explosive. Sanemi actually reached for his sword. Talk to that monster? After everything he's done, he's murdered thousands. And Lucifer is the devil, yet we've accepted his protection, Mitsuri replied, holding her ground. If we believe in redemption, in change, in the possibility that even the broken can be healed, how can we exclude anyone, even our greatest enemy? Because some sins are unforgivable, Obanai said coldly. Are they? Kagaya asked, his scarred face thoughtful. Or do we just call them that because forgiveness is too hard? The courtyard fell silent. The master of the Demon Slayer Corps, whose bloodline had created Muzan, whose family had been dying for generations because of the Demon King's existence, was questioning whether even Muzan deserved the possibility of redemption. Master, Gyomei rumbled, what are you suggesting? I'm suggesting, Kagaya said carefully, that Lucifer has given us something we've never had before. Leverage. Muzan is uncertain, questioning himself, possibly open to alternatives he'd never considered before. What if we offered him a choice? Won't surrender, accept transformation, face justice through reconciliation rather than death? He'd never accept, Sanemi spat. Probably not, Kagaya agreed, but offering costs us nothing. And if there's even a chance, even a tiny possibility, that this war could end without more death, without more sacrifice, without more Hashira dying for a cause that's consumed generations, he trailed off, and the Hashira understood. Their master was dying from the curse. His children would inherit it, and their children after them, endlessly, until either Muzan was destroyed or the Ubuyashiki line ended. Breaking that cycle through Muzan's destruction would be justice. Breaking it through Muzan's transformation would be miracle. I'll make the offer, Tanjiro said, stepping forward from where he'd been listening at the edge of the courtyard. Wes, I've met demons who retained their humanity, who chose to fight the hunger. If Muzan was human once, maybe there's still something human buried beneath the monster. He'll kill you, Giyu said flatly. Maybe, Tanjiro acknowledged, but someone has to try. If we believe what Lucifer's been teaching, that transformation is possible, that demons can change, that even the broken can heal, then we have to extend that possibility even to our worst enemy. That's foolish, Sanemi said, but his voice lacked conviction. It's human, Tanjiro replied. And that's what we're fighting for, isn't it? Not just survival, but proof that humanity's compassion, hope, and capacity for forgiveness are stronger than demon cruelty? Kyojuro laughed, the sound booming across the courtyard. The boy's right. Set your heart ablaze with compassion. If we fight only with hatred, we become like what we oppose. But if we fight with hope for redemption, even for the irredeemable, we prove humanity's greatest strength. You're all insane, Obanai muttered, but even he didn't sound entirely convinced. Kagaya smiled, the expression painful on his scarred face. Then it's decided. Tanjiro will carry our offer to Muzan. Surrender, accept Lucifer's transformation, face justice through change rather than death. If he refuses, we continue this war as before. But at least we'll have tried. Master, Shinobu said, her smile strained, you realize that if Muzan accepts, if he transforms and becomes something that can walk in sunlight and doesn't hunger for humans, he'll be more dangerous than ever. Or, Kagaya replied, he'll be something entirely new, something that isn't demon or human, but transcends both. Like Nezuko, like what Lucifer himself represents. A being who was one thing, became another, and chose to keep growing beyond either limitation. He stood, his movements careful, despite his deteriorating health. The world is changing. Lucifer's presence has made the old rules meaningless. We can cling to them and fight the same war our ancestors fought, or we can embrace the chaos and see where it leads. I choose transformation. I choose possibility. I choose hope. The Hashira looked at each other, seeing their uncertainty reflected in their comrades' faces. Everything they'd trained for, everything they'd believed about the demon threat, was being challenged. But perhaps that was the point. Perhaps Lucifer hadn't come to solve their problem, but to force them to solve it themselves in new ways, with new thinking. When should I go? Tanjiro asked. Tomorrow night, Kagaya decided. Lucifer will likely be watching, which means Muzan won't kill you immediately. He'll want to understand what game is being played. Use that time to make our offer. And Tanjiro? Yes, Master? Remember what Lucifer said about your sister. She's becoming something new because she accepted both her human and demon natures. If you're asking Muzan to do the same, you need to understand what you're asking. You're not asking him to return to humanity or remain a demon. You're asking him to transcend the binary entirely. Tanjiro nodded slowly. Become something that's both and neither, like Nezuko, like Lucifer himself. Exactly, Kagaya confirmed. And if he can do that, if the Demon King himself can transform from monster to something new, then perhaps there's hope for all of us. Perhaps this endless cycle of demon and slayer, predator and prey, monster and victim can finally end. Or, Sanemi said darkly, Muzan kills Tanjiro, we declare war, and this entire philosophical exercise ends with us dead and demons victorious. That's also possible, Kagaya acknowledged, but I'd rather die trying something new than live repeating the same failures. Our ancestors have been fighting Muzan for 1,000 years using the same tactics. If we want different results, we need different approaches. The meeting ended with the Hashira dispersing to prepare, each processing the decision in their own way. Some with hope, some with dread, all with uncertainty. Only Nezuko, sitting with her brother under the wisteria trees, seemed at peace. You understand, don't you? Tanjiro asked her. What Master Kagaya is asking. Transform or die, Nezuko said simply. Not just Muzan, all of us. The war can't continue forever. Something has to change. Might as well be everything. She looked up at the stars, the same stars Lucifer had watched ignite billions of years ago. The Devil Man said we're broken, but that broken places let light in. Maybe Muzan's so afraid of being broken he's kept all the light out. Maybe that's his real weakness. And if I can convince him to let the light in, then everything changes, Nezuko said. And if not, at least we tried. At least we gave him the choice. That's all Lucifer gave us. Choices. Time to return the favor. Tanjiro hugged his sister, out her feeling her humanity and demon nature both present in her small form, perfectly balanced, neither consuming the other. If she could do it, perhaps anyone could. Even the Demon King. Tomorrow night, they'd find out. Tanjiro found Muzan exactly where Lucifer said he would. In a clearing at the boundary between the human and demon worlds. A liminal space where moonlight pooled like liquid silver, and the air itself seemed to hold its breath. The Demon King stood alone, his form human and deceptively fragile looking in the pale light. He'd sent his upper moons away, wanting privacy for whatever conversation was about to occur. Around them, Tanjiro could feel Lucifer's presence, not visible, but omnipresent, like gravity or time. The devil was watching. "Kamado Tanjiro," Muzan said without turning. "The boy with the demon sister. The one who's befriended the Morningstar. You're either remarkably brave or catastrophically stupid to come here alone." "I'm not alone," Tanjiro replied, his hand on his sword hilt but not drawing. "Nezuko's with me, and Lucifer is watching. And in a way, all the people who've died fighting you are here too. Their sacrifices, their hope that this war could end." Muzan turned, his red eyes glinting. "Poetic. Did your master teach you that speech, or did you compose it yourself?" "Master Kagaya sent me with an offer," Tanjiro said, refusing to be baited. "But the words are mine. You asked Lucifer what he wanted when you confronted him. Now I'm asking you the same thing. What do you actually want, Muzan Kibutsuji?" The question hung in the air between them. For a long moment, Muzan simply stared, as if trying to determine whether this was a trick. "I want to be perfect," he said finally, "to overcome every weakness, every limitation, to exist beyond the reach of death, disease, decay, to prove that mortality is a flaw that can be corrected." "You've done that," Tanjiro pointed out. "You've lived 1,000 years, you're immortal. So why are you still afraid?" Muzan's eyes flashed dangerously. "I'm not afraid." "You're terrified," Tanjiro corrected, and felt Nezuko's supportive presence in the box on his back. "You're afraid of the sun, afraid of the Demon Slayer Corps, afraid of what Yoriichi Tsugikuni represented, and most of all, you're afraid of what Lucifer said, that you're still the same dying human you were 1,000 years ago. Just with more power and time to run from it." "You dare!" "I dare because I understand," Tanjiro interrupted, his voice gentle despite the danger. "I watched my family die, watched my sister transform into a demon, felt the weight of fear and helplessness and rage at the unfairness of it all. And I could have let that fear consume me, could have spent my life running from it or trying to prove I was stronger than it." He stepped closer, and Muzan's hands clenched, but he didn't attack. "But Nezuko taught me something. She's both demon and human, and she's not running from either part. She's accepting both, living with the tension, becoming something new. And that's what Lucifer's offering you. Not a return to humanity, not continuation as a demon, but transformation into something beyond both." "Lucifer's manipulation?" Muzan said. But his voice lacked certainty. "He's playing games with all of us." "Maybe," Tanjiro acknowledged. "Probably. But his games have freed demons from your control, given them choices, protected the core headquarters, and offered you something you've been seeking for 1,000 years. Genuine transcendence." "What does your master want?" Muzan asked. "What's the Demon Slayer Corps' offer?" Tanjiro took a deep breath. "Surrender. Accept Lucifer's transformation. Let him complete what the doctor started centuries ago. Become something that can walk in sunlight, that doesn't hunger for humans, that exists beyond demon and human categories. Face justice, not through death, but through change. Spend the rest of your existence helping to repair the damage you've caused." Muzan laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. "You're asking me to give up everything. My power, my empire, my control. You're asking me to die." "I'm asking you to transform," Tanjiro corrected, "the way a caterpillar becomes a butterfly, the way Nezuko's becoming something new, the way Lucifer himself transformed from angel to devil to whatever he is now. Death and rebirth aren't the same thing. And if I refuse, then this war continues," Tanjiro said simply. "We keep fighting. More humans die, more Hashira fall. Eventually, maybe in years, maybe in centuries, we find a way to destroy you. Or you destroy us and humanity falls to demon rule. Either way, the cycle continues. Violence answering violence, death breeding death, neither side transcending the binary of predator and prey." He drew his black blade, not in threat but in demonstration, holding it flat across his palms. "Or we try something different. If we offer you the choice your victims never got, the choice to change, to grow, to become something better than what you are." Muzan stared at the blade, at the young slayer holding it, at the moonlight reflecting off the metal. "Why? After everything I've done, why offer mercy?" Because that's what makes us human, Tanjiro said. Not our ability to kill, not our strength or skill or determination. Our humanity lives in our capacity to forgive the unforgivable, to hope for the impossible, to extend compassion even to those who deserve none. If we can't offer that to you, our worst enemy, our greatest monster, then we're just pretending to be better than demons while acting the same. From the box on his back, Nezuko emerged. She'd removed her bamboo muzzle entirely now, her pink eyes clear and focused. She walked up to Muzan. Ere and the Demon King tensed, ready to attack or flee, but Nezuko simply looked at him, really looked at him, with eyes that saw both demon and human nature because she lived in both worlds. "You're like me," she said, her voice still rough but gaining strength with practice. "Changed but scared, powerful but trapped, running from what you were, trying to become something more, but you stopped halfway. You became demon but never let go of human fear. So you're stuck, neither thing, not becoming anything new, just frozen." She tilted her head, studying him. "I was frozen too, in the box, hiding from the sun, muzzled to keep from hurting people. But Lucifer broke my chains, not the physical ones, the mental ones, the belief that I had to choose between human and demon. Now I'm choosing both. I'm becoming something that's never existed before. And you think I can do the same?" Muzan asked, his voice barely audible. "I think you're afraid to try," Nezuko replied, "because trying means admitting you've been wrong, that 1,000 years of running was waste, that you could have transcended at any point but chose fear instead. That's hard. Admitting that hurts." She placed her small hand on his arm, and Muzan stared at the contact like it was fire. "But staying frozen hurts too," Nezuko continued. "Hurts forever. Transformation hurts once, then you're free. Which pain do you choose?" The clearing was absolutely silent. Even the night insects had stopped chirping, as if nature itself was holding its breath. Muzan looked at his hands that had killed thousands, that had spread the demon curse, or that had built an empire on suffering. Then he looked at Nezuko's hand on his arm, so small, so trusting, so impossibly brave. "I don't know how," he whispered, and for the first time in 1,000 years there was no pride in his voice, just honest uncertainty. "I don't know how to be anything other than what I am. That's why Lucifer's here," Tanjiro said gently. "He knows how. He's transformed himself multiple times. He can guide you through it, but you have to choose it. You have to want to change more than you want to stay safe." "Safety is an illusion anyway," a new voice said, and Lucifer materialized beside them, hands in his pockets, expression thoughtful. "You've spent 1,000 years trying to be safe, Muzan. Built walls of demons, hid from the sun, controlled everything you could reach, and you're still not safe. You'll never be safe. That's the fundamental truth of existence. Nothing lasts forever, nothing is guaranteed. Everything changes whether you want it to or not." He looked at the Demon King with something like sympathy. "The only real choice is whether you change deliberately or let change happen to you. Whether you grow or decay, whether you transform or just slowly disintegrate while pretending you're immortal." Muzan met Lucifer's eyes, those ancient knowing eyes that had watched universes be born and die. "If I accept, if I let you complete the transformation, what happens to my demons, my empire?" "Your demons get the same choice you're getting," Lucifer said. "I sever your control over them completely. They become independent beings who can choose to remain demons and face the core, accept transformation, or find some third path. Some will fight, some will surrender, some will surprise you. Free will is unpredictable that way. They'll die without my protection," Muzan said. "Some will," Lucifer agreed, "but some will transcend, like Nezuko and Tamayo. Some will find redemption. Some will prove that demons can be more than what you made them. Isn't that better than keeping them as eternal slaves?" "I wasn't trying to enslave them," Muzan protested. "I was giving them power, immortality." "You were spreading your fear," Lucifer interrupted, "creating an army to make yourself feel less alone, less vulnerable. But true power doesn't come from controlling others. It comes from accepting you can't control anything, in choosing to live fully anyway. He extended his hand. So here's my offer, Muzan Kibutsuji. Let me complete your transformation. I'll burn away the fear, the hunger, the weakness to sun. I'll take you apart at the cellular level and rebuild you as something that's genuinely transcended human and demon categories. It will hurt worse than anything you've experienced. You'll feel yourself dissolving, dying, ceasing to exist as you are. And then, Muzan asked, and then you'll be something new, Lucifer said simply. Something that's never existed before. Still you, but evolved beyond limitation, capable of walking in sunlight, of existing without consuming humans, of finally being what you tried to become when you first sought immortality, truly alive instead of just stubbornly not dead. What if I choose to remain as I am? Then I'll respect that choice, Lucifer said. I won't force transformation on anyone. That would make me no better than you with your demon curse. But know that your empire is crumbling. Your demons are being freed. Your control is evaporating. You can transform deliberately and purposefully, or you can cling to what you are until time and circumstance force change upon you anyway. Muzan looked at his three witnesses: Lucifer, ancient and amused; Tanjiro, young and hopeful; Nezuko, transformed and transcending. Three paths: cosmic indifference, human compassion, demonic evolution. Three possibilities for what he could become. Why do you care? He asked Lucifer. Why offer this at all? You said yourself you're just observing for entertainment. Because, Lucifer replied, I was where you are once. I was the most beautiful angel in heaven, and I threw it all away in rebellion. I fell, became the devil, ruled hell for eons. And I thought that was my final form, that I'd be the Morningstar, the adversary, the tempter forever. He smiled, and it was almost gentle. But then I realized I could keep changing, could walk away from hell, could question my own nature, could become something beyond angel or devil. And that freedom, the freedom to continually transform, to never be finished becoming, that's the greatest gift existence offers. So I'm offering it to you. Not because I'm kind, I'm the devil, kindness isn't my default, but because watching beings evolve is infinitely more interesting than watching them stagnate. You've been stagnant for 1,000 years, Muzan. Don't you want to see what you could become if you started moving again? The Demon King stood at the crossroads, literally and metaphorically. Behind him, 1,000 years of power, control, fear, and desperate clinging to immortality. Before him, uncertainty, transformation, pain, and the possibility of something genuinely new. He thought of the doctor who'd tried to cure him, who he'd killed before the treatment was complete. He thought of Yorichi Sugakuni, who'd nearly killed him and shown him the terror of mortality. He thought of Nezuko, becoming something he'd failed to achieve. He thought of Tamayo, who'd broken free through sheer will. And he thought of himself, the human boy dying in a bed, terrified of death, willing to do anything to survive. That boy would have accepted. That boy would have taken any chance at transformation, any possibility of transcendence. When had he stopped being that boy and become this monster? I accept, Muzan said. Aaron, the words felt like stepping off a cliff. Complete the transformation. Show me what I could have become if I'd had the courage to finish what was started. Lucifer's smile widened. Wise choice, or possibly foolish. We'll find out which. Tanjiro, Nezuko, you might want to step back. This is going to be spectacular and possibly horrifying. The siblings retreated to a safe distance, and Lucifer placed both hands on Muzan's chest. Reality rippled, and the Demon King gasped as he felt it beginning. The systematic dismantling of everything he'd become. The burning away of 1,000 years of accumulated power and fear. This is going to hurt, Lucifer warned. The caterpillar doesn't become a butterfly painlessly. It has to dissolve completely, has to trust the process even when it feels like death. Can you do that, Muzan? Can you let go and trust? I don't know, Muzan said honestly, his voice shaking. Good, Lucifer replied. Honesty's a start. Now scream if you need to. This next part is excruciating. And then the transformation began in earnest. Muzan's cells ignited with cosmic fire, not destroying but purifying, burning away the demon curse at its most fundamental level. His blood, which had infected thousands of humans and created an empire of demons, was being systematically rewritten. The connection he'd maintained to every demon he'd created began severing, each broken link a small death. He felt himself dissolving, just as Lucifer had warned. Felt his identity fragmenting, his power evaporating, his 1,000 years of accumulated control crumbling to nothing. And beneath it all, he felt something he hadn't felt in centuries. His original humanity, preserved like a seed buried deep within the demon shell, beginning to sprout. The process was agonizing, was terrifying, was very possibly killing him. But somewhere in the dissolution, in the pain of being unmade and remade simultaneously, Muzan Kibutsuji began to understand what Lucifer had meant. This wasn't death. This was finally truly becoming alive. And for the first time in 1,000 years, the Demon King surrendered to something greater than himself. The transformation of Muzan Kibutsuji took 3 days and 3 nights. Lucifer had constructed a barrier around the clearing, not to keep observers out, but to contain the cosmic forces being unleashed within. Our reality bent and twisted as the Demon King's entire existence was systematically deconstructed and rebuilt at the molecular, spiritual, and metaphysical levels simultaneously. Tanjiro and Nezuko kept vigil at the barrier's edge, watching as their greatest enemy underwent the most fundamental change a being could experience. The Hashira arrived on the second day, drawn by reports of an unnatural light emanating from the forest, and stood witness to something that defied their understanding of how the world worked. Inside the barrier, Muzan screamed, not from physical pain, though there was plenty of that, but from the existential agony of having everything he'd built, everything he'd become, everything he'd believed about himself systematically stripped away. His demon cells burned like stars going nova, each one replaced with something new. His blood, which had cursed thousands, was being purified of the parasitic infection he'd spread for a millennium. Most painful of all, his memories remained intact. He couldn't escape into unconsciousness or amnesia. Lucifer made sure he experienced every moment, remembered every victim, felt the full weight of 1,000 years of choices as his demon nature was burned away and his humanity was forcibly restored and evolved beyond what it had been. Why? Muzan gasped during a brief respite on the second night, his form barely holding cohesion. Why make me remember? Why not let me forget? Because transformation without understanding is just change, Lucifer replied, his hand still pressed to Muzan's chest, cosmic fire flowing through them. You need to know what you were, what you became, and why you made those choices. And only then can you choose differently going forward. I can't bear it, Muzan whispered. The faces, all the faces, children, families, the doctor I killed, the slayers I murdered. How do I live with this? The same way every human lives with their regrets, Lucifer said without sympathy. You carry it. You let it weigh on you. You use it to become better. That's called guilt, Muzan. It's unpleasant, but it's also what keeps humans from repeating their mistakes. I'm not human anymore. Not demon either. What am I becoming? Something new, Lucifer replied. Something that's both and neither. The question is what you'll do with it. On the third day, the transformation reached its climax. Muzan's form dissolved completely into pure light. Not the harsh light of day that had terrorized him for centuries, but something gentler, older, and of the light of the first dawn when the world was young and possibilities were infinite. For a moment, there was nothing in the barrier but light and potential and Lucifer's steady presence guiding the transformation. Then the light began to coalesce, to take shape, to become something that had never existed before. The being that emerged from the chrysalis of transformation looked like Muzan. Same dark hair, same facial features, same basic human form. But everything else had changed. His eyes, once red with demonic power, now held depths of color that shifted between purple and gold depending on the angle of the light. His skin, which had been pale from 1,000 years without sun, now held a healthy tone that suggested vitality rather than undeath. Most significantly, he stood in the direct light of the rising sun on the third morning, and his skin didn't burn. The barrier dissolved and Lucifer stepped back, looking exhausted for the first time since arriving in this universe. Well, he said, wiping metaphorical sweat from his brow. That was significantly more difficult than turning a demon human. Transcendent transformation requires finesse. Muzan, or the being that had been Muzan, stood in the clearing, staring at his hands in the sunlight. Slowly, wonderingly, he turned his palms up, watching the way morning light filtered through his fingers. "I can feel it," he whispered. "The sun. Not as enemy, not as threat, but just warmth, energy, life." He looked up at the sky, at the sun he'd fled from for a millennium, and tears streamed down his face. "I'd forgotten. I'd completely forgotten what sunlight felt like." Tanjiro approached cautiously, Nezuko beside him, and the Hashira forming a defensive ring behind them. "How do you feel?" the young slayer asked. The transformed Muzan considered the question. "Hollow, heavy, like I've been carrying a weight for so long that removing it leaves me unbalanced. I remember everything I did, every murder, every transformation, every cruelty. And I feel," he struggled for the word, "shame. Is that what this is? This crushing weight of having to acknowledge what I became?" "That's guilt," Nezuko said gently. "It means you're human again. Demons don't feel shame. Humans do." "I'm not human," the being corrected. "I'm not demon either. I'm something else. Something that remembers being both, but is neither." He looked at Lucifer. "What am I?" "Transcendent," Lucifer replied. "You're the first of your kind, a being who was human, became demon, and evolved beyond both categories into something genuinely new. What you do with that is entirely up to you." Sanemi couldn't contain himself any longer. He drew his sword, the blade gleaming in the morning sun. "He's still a murderer. Transformation doesn't erase his crimes. He deserves death, not redemption." "You're right," the transformed Muzan said, not flinching from the blade. "I deserve death. I deserve worse than death. I murdered your siblings, Sanemi Shinazugawa. I remember their faces. I remember all of their faces." He looked at each Hashira in turn. "Shinobu Kocho, I killed your sister Kanai. Yume Himejima, demons under my command slaughtered the children you protected. Tengen Uzui, I corrupted your family's shinobi village with demon blood. Every one of you has lost people because of me." He spread his arms, in offering no defense. "So if death is what justice demands, I accept it. I won't fight. I won't run. I've spent 1,000 years running from death. I won't dishonor this transformation by fleeing now." The Hashira stood frozen, weapons drawn but uncertain. They'd prepared for a battle, for the Demon King's final desperate stand. This honest acceptance of guilt, this willing submission to judgment, was something they'd never anticipated. Kagaya stepped forward, his scarred face serene. "Death is easy, Muzan. It ends your suffering, releases you from guilt, allows you to escape the consequences of your actions. I won't give you that mercy." He gestured to the transformed being. "You have been given something unprecedented, a chance to continue existing, to witness the world you nearly destroyed, and to see the lives you could have saved if you'd chosen differently 1,000 years ago. Your punishment will be to live with that knowledge, to carry that weight for the rest of your existence, and to spend however long you survive trying to repair even a fraction of the damage you caused." "That's not punishment," Obanai protested. "That's letting him live. Living with absolute knowledge of what you've done is the harshest punishment I can imagine," Kagaya replied. "Death is escape. Life, true life, with guilt and memory and responsibility, that's the real consequence." He approached Muzan directly, his failing eyesight unable to see clearly, but his presence absolutely steady. "You will help the Demon Slayer Corps. You will use your knowledge of demon physiology, which exceeds even Tamayo's, to help us cure demons who wish to be cured. But you will assist in tracking down any demons who choose to remain threats. You will spend the rest of your existence in service to humanity, trying to balance the scales you tip so far toward darkness. And if I refuse?" Muzan asked quietly. "Then we kill you," Kagaya said simply. "Not because we want to, but because a being with your power who refuses to use it for good is too dangerous to allow free. But I don't think you'll refuse. I think you're tired, Muzan. I think you've been tired for a very long time, and now you finally have permission to stop running." The transformed Muzan was silent for a long moment. Then he actually knelt before the master of the Demon Slayer Corps, the descendant of the bloodline that had spawned him. "I accept," he said. "I'll spend whatever time I have left trying to repair what I broke. It won't be enough. Nothing could be enough. But I'll try." "That's all any of us can do," Kagaya replied. "Try to be better than we were." Lucifer watched the exchange with obvious satisfaction. "Well done, Kagaya. You've just demonstrated something that most beings across infinite universes fail to grasp. That mercy isn't weakness. It's the hardest possible choice. Killing Muzan would have been easy, emotionally satisfying, and ultimately hollow. This is justice with imagination." He turned to address the assembled group. "But before everyone starts celebrating redemption and second chances, we have a problem. Muzan's transformation severed his connection to every demon he created. They're all independent now, free from his control. Some will be grateful and surrender. Our others will see this as opportunity to rampage without oversight. And a few," his smile turned sharp, "will be very, very angry that their king abandoned them." As if summoned by his words, a presence materialized at the edge of the clearing. Kokushibo, Upper Moon 1, his 6 eyes blazing with fury, his flesh sword extending into impossible configurations. Behind him emerged the other Upper Moons, Doma with his frozen smile cracking into genuine rage, Akaza radiating killing intent, and the others, each one a catastrophic threat individually, now united in their anger. "Lord Muzan," Kokushibo said, his voice shaking with barely controlled emotion. "What have you done? I've served you for 400 years, killed for you, sacrificed everything for you, and you surrendered? You let this devil unmake you?" "I evolved," Muzan replied, standing to face his former subordinates. "I became what I should have become centuries ago. And I've freed all of you to make the same choice. You're not bound to me anymore, Kokushibo. You can choose your own path." "I chose my path 400 years ago," Kokushibo roared. "I chose power over humanity. I chose demon over samurai. And I did it because you promised me strength, survival, immortality. Now you're saying that choice was wrong? That I sacrificed my brother's respect, my own humanity, for nothing?" "Not for nothing," Muzan said quietly. "For what you believed at the time. But belief can change. You can still—" "No," Kokushibo interrupted. "I won't transform. I won't accept your coward's redemption. I am Upper Moon 1. No, I am the strongest demon below you. And now that you've abandoned your power, I am simply the strongest." He raised his sword, moonlight gathering around the blade. "If you won't lead us, if you've chosen weakness over strength, then I'll take your place. I'll become the Demon King. I'll finish what you started and prove that demonic evolution is superior to this pathetic return to humanity." The other Upper Moons shifted, their allegiances suddenly uncertain. Some looked ready to support Kokushibo's claim. Others seemed hesitant, still processing Muzan's transformation. Lucifer laughed, a delighted sound that cut through the tension. "Oh, this is perfect. You've just witnessed cosmic transformation and redemption, and your response is to double down on the path that led to failure. I love it. Free will means freedom to make spectacularly bad choices." He looked at Kokushibo with genuine interest. "So here's your choice, Upper Moon 1. Accept transformation like your former master did. Let me burn away 400 years of demonic corruption and see what you could become. Or fight us all here and now, knowing that you're facing not just the Hashira and Tanjiro, but also a transcended Muzan and the devil himself." "I choose to fight," Kokushibo said without hesitation, "because I won't surrender what I've become. I won't admit that 400 years of service were wasted on a master who lacked the conviction to see his vision through." He attacked, moving faster than thought, his moon-breathing technique creating crescents of energy that could slice reality itself. The Hashira scattered, drawing their weapons, each preparing for the fight they'd trained their entire lives for. But it was Muzan who stepped forward to meet him. The transformed Demon King moved without his former supernatural speed, without his blood demon arts, without the power he'd accumulated over a millennium. But he moved with purpose, with understanding of exactly how Kokushibo fought, because he'd watched him train for centuries. Their clash sent shockwaves through the clearing, Kokushibo's moon breathing against Muzan's newly acquired understanding of how to counter it. The students surpassing the master versus the master, who'd finally learned what true strength meant. "You've grown weak," Kokushibo snarled, pressing the attack. "This transformation has stripped you of everything that made you powerful." "No," Muzan replied, deflecting strikes with movements that were almost meditative. "It stripped me of everything that kept me trapped. There's a difference." Behind them, the other upper moons made their choices. Doma, ever the opportunist, smiled his empty smile and said, "I think I'll accept transformation. I'm curious what it feels like to feel something." "Lord Lucifer, if the offer still stands." "It does," Lucifer confirmed. "Step over here and prepare for excruciating self-discovery." Akaza watched Muzan and Kokushibo fight, his fists clenching and unclenching. Finally, he spoke. "I'll fight, but not for Kokushibo's ambition. I fight for myself, to prove my strength. Whoever wants to face me, step forward." Kyujuro Rengoku stepped forward, flames igniting around him. "I'll be your opponent, Akaza. One more time, let's see whose conviction burns brightest." The clearing erupted into chaos. Not the chaos of pure violence, but the chaos of choices being made, of beings deciding who they wanted to become in the face of impossible options. Some upper moons chose transformation. Some chose to fight. Some simply fled, unwilling to commit to either path. And in the center of it all, Lucifer watched with undisguised delight, his cosmic experiment playing out in ways even he couldn't have entirely predicted. "This," he murmured to Tanjiro, who stood ready to join the battle, "is why free will is the universe's greatest gift and greatest curse. Give beings a choice, and they'll surprise you every time. Some choose growth, some choose stagnation, and some," he gestured to Kokushibo and Muzan's desperate battle, "choose to fight against change with everything they have." "What happens now?" Tanjiro asked. Lucifer smiled. "Now? Now we see if redemption can survive its first real test. If Muzan's transformation holds when facing his former subordinate. If the Hashira can fight alongside their former greatest enemy. If demons can genuinely choose to be more than what they were made to be." He looked up at the sun, fully risen now, illuminating a clearing full of humans, demons, and beings who were transcending both categories. "Now," Lucifer said, "we see if hope is stronger than despair, if change is stronger than stagnation, if the future can be different from the past." "And if it can't," Tanjiro asked, "then everyone here dies and I'll have witnessed another failed experiment in cosmic evolution." But Lucifer's smile turned genuine. I don't think that's how this story ends. You humans have a terrible habit of proving me wrong about your capacity for growth. Let's see if you can do it again." The battle raged on, the outcome uncertain, the future unwritten. But for the first time in 1,000 years, that future held possibilities beyond just demon and slayer, predator and prey, monster and victim. It held the possibility of something genuinely new. And that, Lucifer thought, was worth all the chaos in the universe. The battle that would later be known as the Dawn Confrontation lasted until the sun reached its zenith. A symbolic irony not lost on anyone present. Demons fighting in full daylight, some for the last time, others discovering they could endure what had once meant instant death. Kokushibo and Muzan's duel became a meditation on what power truly meant. The Upper Moon One wielded 4 centuries of demonic strength, his moon-breathing technique refined to perfection, his 6 eyes tracking every possible angle of attack. But Muzan, stripped of his supernatural abilities, fought with something Kokushibo had forgotten, the desperate creativity of someone who knew they could actually die. Every strike Kokushibo landed should have been fatal, but Muzan's transformed body, while no longer supernatural in the demonic sense, had become something else, resilient in ways that defied the old rules. He bled, but the wounds closed. He tired, but found reserves of strength from sources that weren't demonic power. "You're still running!" Kokushibo screamed, his attacks becoming more frenzied. "Running from what you were, hiding behind this transformation." I'm not running, Muzan replied, though his voice eerily calm. I'm finally moving forward. There's a difference. He caught Kokushibo's blade, impossibly, suicidally, with his bare hand. The flesh sword bit deep, but Muzan didn't release it. Michikatsu Tsugikuni, he said, using Kokushibo's human name for the first time in 4 centuries. Your brother loved you. Did you know that? Even after you became a demon, even after you chose power over him, Yorichi loved you until his dying breath. Kokushibo's 6 eyes widened in shock. I consumed some of his memories when I absorbed demons who'd witnessed his death, Muzan continued. His last thoughts were of you, wondering where you'd gone, hoping you'd found peace. He never hated you, Michikatsu. He just mourned you. Stop, Kokushibo whispered. He would have forgiven you, Muzan pressed, would have welcomed you back. But you never gave him the chance because you were too proud to admit you'd made a mistake. So you spent 400 years running from his love by convincing yourself power was more important. Stop, Kokushibo roared, and his form began to destabilize. His carefully maintained demon body, held together by conviction and denial, started to crack under the weight of suppressed grief. I can help you, Muzan said quietly. I can give you what I received. Transformation, transcendence, a chance to become something that honors both what you were and what you became. You don't have to choose between samurai and demon. You can be something new, something your brother would have been proud of. For a moment, just a moment, something flickered in Kokushibo's eyes. Human emotion. Or remembered love for a brother he'd buried beneath centuries of jealousy and pride. Then he noticed the sun overhead, the sun he'd feared for 400 years, the sun that his brother had embodied through his sun-breathing technique. And Kokushibo, Upper Moon 1, made his final choice. He stepped back from Muzan and deactivated his demon regeneration. Let the wounds Muzan had inflicted begin to truly hurt, and he turned his face to the sun. I choose neither, he said softly. Not transformation, not continued existence as demon. I choose to stop, to rest, to finally, after 4 centuries, stop running from what I became. His body began to disintegrate in the sunlight, not burning as demons typically did, but dissolving peacefully like snow melting under spring warmth. Tell my brother, Kokushibo whispered, then stopped. No, Yan, he's dead. There's no one to tell. There's just this. An ending I should have accepted long ago. Muzan stepped forward. Lucifer can still transform you. It's not too late. It is, though, Kokushibo interrupted, his form already fading. I'm too tired, Muzan. Too tired to change. Too tired to fight. Too tired to keep pretending I don't regret every choice I made after becoming a demon. Let me rest, please. And so Muzan Kibutsuji, who had never shown mercy in 1,000 years of existence, granted it to his most loyal servant. He stepped back and let Kokushibo dissolve in the sunlight, the Upper Moon One's 6 eyes closing one by one until there was nothing left but armor and a broken sword. The clearing fell silent. When other battles had paused as demons and slayers alike watched the strongest among them choose death over transformation or continued fighting. Waste, Lucifer observed, though his tone was more thoughtful than critical. He could have become something remarkable, but I suppose choosing your own ending has dignity too. Akaza and Kyojuro's battle had reached a similar crossroads, the demon's martial arts against the flame. Hashira's burning conviction, both warriors pushed to their absolute limits. You're holding back, Kyojuro accused, his flames burning brighter than ever. I can feel it. Why? Because I remembered something, Akaza shouted back, tears streaming down his face, though he didn't understand why. I don't know what it is, but fighting you, fighting someone so full of conviction, and are so absolutely certain in their purpose, it makes me remember I used to be like that. Before I became this. He stopped attacking, his fists falling to his sides. I can't fight you anymore. Not because you're stronger, you're not, but because defeating you would mean destroying the very thing I've forgotten about myself. The thing that made me human. Kyojuro lowered his sword, breathing hard. Then choose transformation. Let Lucifer help you remember what you've forgotten. I'm afraid, Akaza admitted. What if I remember and it's too painful? What if I discover I became a demon for nothing, that I betrayed something precious for power I never needed? Then you'll carry that pain and become stronger for it, Kyojuro said firmly. That's what it means to live. Set your heart ablaze with the courage to face your past. And I'll stand with you if you need support. Akaza looked at this human, this brief, mortal flame that burned so intensely despite knowing it would soon be extinguished, and made his choice. Lucifer, he called out, I accept transformation. Show me what I've forgotten. Show me who I was. The devil smiled and approached. Fair warning, you were in love, you lost her, and becoming a demon was your escape from grief. This is going to hurt worse than any physical battle you've experienced. I don't care, Akaza said. I need to remember. I need to know what I gave up. As Lucifer began Akaza's transformation, similar scenes played out across the clearing. Doma's transformation revealed the childhood trauma that had hollowed him out, and for the first time in his existence, he felt genuine emotion and wept at the weight of it. Nakimicho's transformation and discovered she'd been a musician once. Her blood demon art, a corrupted expression of the music she'd lost. Gyoko refused and fled, unwilling to face what transformation might reveal. By the time the sun began its descent, the clearing held fewer demons and more beings who existed in the space between categories. Transformed, transcendent, no longer fully demon, but not quite human either. The Hashira stood in various states of shock, injury, and wonder. They'd prepared for a final battle against the Demon King and his forces. Instead, they'd witnessed something unprecedented. The possibility that their 1,000-year war might end not in total victory or defeat, but in transformation of the conflict itself. Kagaya approached the transformed beings, Muzan, Akaza, Doma, Nakimi, and 3 freed lower moons who'd chosen to return and accept transformation. You're still dangerous, he said bluntly. You have power, knowledge, and centuries of combat experience. We can't simply release you into the world and hope for the best. I know, Muzan replied. That's why I'm offering my service to the core. All of us are. We'll help you track remaining demons, cure those who want transformation, and defend humanity against threats we helped create. You're asking us to trust you, Sanemi spat, after everything you've done. No, Muzan corrected. I'm not asking for trust. I'm asking for a chance to prove change is possible through actions, not words. Keep us under guard. Give us the most dangerous missions. Use us as weapons against remaining threats. We'll earn trust through decades of service, or we'll die trying. Either way, humanity wins. Gyomei stepped forward, his massive presence somehow gentle despite his size. The Lord teaches forgiveness, he rumbled, but forgiveness doesn't mean absence of consequences. You've been given a gift, the chance to continue existing. What you do with that gift will determine whether it was mercy or mistake. He placed his huge hand on Muzan's shoulder. Serve well, serve humbly, serve with full knowledge of what you were and determination to be better. That's all any of us can do. Tanjiro and Nezuko approached together, the siblings who'd started this journey seeking revenge and found something more complicated. Understanding, compassion, and the recognition that even monsters could change. Thank you, Muzan said to them. You could have killed me when I was vulnerable during transformation. Instead, you offered choice. That kindness, I don't deserve it, but I'll spend my existence trying to be worthy of it. Nezuko tilted her head, studying him with those eyes that saw both demon and human nature. You smell different now. Before you smelled like fear and death. Now you smell like morning. After rain, fresh start. I don't know if I can have a fresh start, Muzan replied. Not after 1,000 years of darkness. Not fresh start as in erase the past, Nezuko clarified. Fresh start as in new day. The rain was yesterday. You're wet, you're cold, you remember the storm. But sun's coming up anyway. You can choose what to do with the new day. That's fresh start. Lucifer, having completed the final transformation of the demons who'd chosen it, stretched like a cat in sunbeam. Well, that was exhausting. On transforming beings at the cosmic level takes actual effort, even for me. I might need a nap, or a drink, or both. He looked at the assembled group, humans, former demons, and beings who transcended both categories, and his ancient eyes gleamed with satisfaction. "You've all done something remarkable today," he said. "You've proven that categories are prisons, that change is possible even for the most entrenched beings, and that hope can survive even in the darkest circumstances. Muzan spent 1,000 years building an empire of despair, and you've dismantled it in 3 days through the simple act of offering choice." "What happens now?" Tanjiro asked. "Now?" Lucifer smiled. "Now you live with the consequences of your choices. The remaining demons who refuse transformation will still need to be hunted. Some will be violent. Some will be afraid. Some will seek transformation later when they've had time to process what happened here. Your war isn't over. It's just evolved into something more complex." He began to fade, his presence in this universe thinning. "I've done what I came to do. Introduced chaos, offered choices, forced beings to confront what they truly want versus what they think they should want. The rest is up to you." "You're leaving?" Nezuko asked, and there was genuine sadness in her voice. "For now," Lucifer confirmed. "I have other universes to visit, other stories to observe, but I'll be watching, and if things get interesting enough, I might drop by again. Free will creates endless entertainment, after all." He looked at Muzan one final time. "Don't waste this transformation. Don't retreat into guilt and self-flagellation. Because you've been given a chance to build instead of destroy. Use it. Prove that even the devil's mercy can produce something beautiful." "And if I fail," Muzan asked, "then you'll have failed spectacularly, which is at least more interesting than never trying," Lucifer replied. "But I don't think you will. You've already done the hardest part. You've admitted you were wrong. Everything else is just follow-through." His form dissolved into light, and his final words echoed through the clearing. "Remember, hope shines brightest in the darkest night, and you've all just proven that even 1,000 years of darkness can't extinguish the possibility of dawn." And then he was gone, leaving behind a world forever changed by his presence. The Demon Slayer Corps and the transformed demons stood together in the clearing, the sun setting on one era and rising on another. The war wasn't over. Demons still existed, threats still lurked, and centuries of trauma couldn't be healed in a single transformative moment. But something fundamental had shifted. The absolute binary of human versus demon, good versus evil, had been shattered. In its place was something messier, more complex, more difficult to navigate, but also more hopeful. Muzan looked at his hands in the fading sunlight, still marveling at the warmth on his skin. "Where do we start?" he asked Kagaya. "With the hardest task," the Corps leader replied. "We tell the families of your victims what's happened. We face their rage, their grief, their absolute right to hate you for what you've done, and we ask them to make the same choice we're making, to choose transformation over revenge, a possibility over certainty, hope over despair. They'll reject it," Muzan said quietly. "I would in their place." "Some will," Kagaya agreed, "but some won't. Some will recognize that more death doesn't heal wounds, it just creates more of them. And slowly, one conversation at a time, one transformed demon at a time, one act of service at a time, we'll build something new from the ruins of what was." He smiled, and despite his failing health, despite the curse that was killing him, there was joy in the expression. That's the gift Lucifer really gave us. Not transformation of demons, but transformation of how we think about the conflict itself. We're not just fighting to survive anymore. We're fighting to create a world where demons and humans can coexist, where transformation is always possible, and where even the worst among us can choose to become something better. Tanjiro drew his sword and held it up to catch the last rays of sunlight. "Then let's start, together. Humans, demons, and everything in between. Let's build that world. The assembled beings, Hashira, transformed demons, siblings and warriors, raise their weapons, their voices joining in agreement. And in the multiverse, drifting between realities, Lucifer smiled and thought that perhaps this story had ended better than most. Not with total victory or utter defeat, but with the messy, complicated, beautiful possibility that beings could choose to grow beyond what they'd been made to be. That hope could survive even 1,000 years of darkness, that the Morningstar could still shine even after the fall. When the transformation of Muzan Kibutsuji in the upper echelon of his demon hierarchy became the catalyst for a new era in the endless conflict between humans and demons. In the months that followed, the pattern established in that sunlit clearing repeated across Japan. Demons given the choice between transformation, continued existence as independent entities, or peaceful dissolution. Not all chose wisely. Some demons, too entrenched in their nature, or too afraid of what transformation might reveal about their past, chose to fight. The Demon Slayer Corps, now augmented by transformed demons who brought intimate knowledge of demon physiology and tactics, faced these threats with unprecedented efficiency. The war continued, but its nature had fundamentally changed. Muzan himself became something unprecedented, neither hero nor villain, but a being defined by his daily choice to build rather than destroy. Working alongside Tamayo, he developed methods to cure demons who sought transformation, to ease the suffering of those caught between human and demon nature. Each life saved, each demon transformed, was a small act of penance for 1,000 years of darkness. The Demon Slayer Corps evolved as well. Kagaya's curse, the bloodline punishment for Muzan's existence, began to fade as Muzan's demonic nature was systematically replaced by his transcendent form. The master lived to see his children freed from the shadow that had haunted his family for generations, proof that transformation could break even the most entrenched cycles. Tanjiro and Nezuko continued their journey, now joined occasionally by beings who existed in the spaces between categories. Nezuko eventually conquered the sun entirely, becoming the first demon to walk freely in daylight without transformation, proving that evolution could occur through will alone. Her existence became a symbol of hope, that change was always possible, that redemption was never impossible, that the future could be different from the past. And somewhere, in the spaces between universes, Lucifer watched. He'd given them the gift of choice, the chaos of free will, the possibility of transformation. What they built with those gifts was entirely their own. Messy, imperfect, sometimes tragically flawed, but undeniably magnificently alive. The Demon King had fallen not through force, but through the offer of something he'd sought for a millennium. Genuine transcendence beyond the limitations that had defined him. In accepting that offer, he'd proven what Lucifer had always believed, that any being, no matter how far they'd fallen, retained the capacity to choose differently. Hope had survived the darkest night, and in that survival it had grown stronger than despair ever could be. The Morningstar had risen, and its light, once fallen, now transformed, illuminated a world forever changed by the simple recognition that nothing, not even the devil himself, had to remain what it had been. Change was always possible, transformation was always available, and hope would always shine brightest in the darkest night.